All right, what is going on today, chat? Happy Wednesday, happy grade review day. Episode 21. Going off strong. Came back from yesterday, a pretty successful PSA return. Happy Wednesday, Hannah. I appreciate it. McJackson, trying to give that old Toonami vibe. I appreciate the kind words. So we came back from a really nice PSA submission, and hopefully we're going to be seeing some cool cards today. For those of you who are here for the first time, my name is Galaxia Gaming, and every Wednesday we do what's called Grade Review, where we review community members' cards for free from our Discord to give our assessment on what we think the cards would get as a PSA grade. Both myself and chat will weigh in on what we think it's going to be. It's a completely free service unless you want it expedited. There is a Discord subscription that's a little bit more streamlined now, but we are going to stop yapping and get right into it. So first up, from the subscriber submissions, is Poke. Poke has been here for quite some time now. Has some crazy looking cards in great condition. A nice wide variety. So we are going to get right into it. Welcome in, Pink. And Mick Jackson, welcome. All right. So far, the Dark Alakazam is looking nice. No, I actually just started, Pink. Just started. So Dark Alakazam. The centering looking pretty good. Corners looking good. The letters looking really good in terms of the text here, looking really sharp. The foiling looking absolutely amazing. So you can kind of see in this back foot and kind of the back shoulders looking really nice. Probably the only thing that I can see is that little dot that can probably just get wiped off with a microfiber cloth would be my guess. So not too worried about that. But all in all, the front is in great condition. So we flip it over on the back. Centering, probably a tad thicker on this right side than on the left, but not too bad. We do have some whitened corners, both on the top left and the top right. Let me try to zoom out just a little bit so you guys can see it a little bit better. Put my tool away, do this, boom. Okay, so you can kind of see right here, a little bit of whitening on that top right-hand corner, as well as the top left, but not too bad. Left edge looks good, bottom corner looks good, and we do have a little bit of whitening on this right side. But all in all, for a first edition Team Rocket, this card is in excellent shape. Kudos to you, as always. Always keeping your cards in pretty much pristine condition, which is always insane. But yeah. So let me start by launching a poll. So for those of you who are new, there will be a poll that should pop up on your device right now. It should look like a little clipboard that should have popped up. And this is your chance to weigh in on what you think this Dark Alakazam would get. So again, what we do is once the assessment is done, you all have a opportunity to weigh in, and then the average of what chat thinks is going to be the chat grade. So, Fat Charizard and the White Hawk, thanks so much for the follows. I appreciate it. Got Goods, Dane, welcome. And while you guys are voting, I'm going to catch up with chat. Hopefully you guys, some of you were around from the PSA submission yesterday. It was super nice. Untoten, how's it going? We're doing good. Another Wednesday, another grade review day, so far, so good. Dane, thanks so much for the follow. At the gym, huh, Pink? It seemed like we had a lot of gym talk towards the end there. Big Worm, thanks so much for the like. Appreciate it. I just got back myself. I'm trying to do a reset plan. Try to find my numbers again. I just got done with deadlifts, and boy howdy, are my lifts a little bit weaker this time around. Fighting for my life. All right, so chat grade. So on average through the poll, it looks like you guys are on PSA 8. It's actually a pretty strong assessment, so. But let's take a look. So again, for those of you who are new here, we always have to consider the 4 main grading criteria, which are corners, edges, surface, and centering. So on here, the front of the centering, meaning that the yellow border from the left to the right, looks pretty symmetrical, so 50-50, both on the left and the right and the top down on this particular Dark Alakazam. So next we look at the edges. I tend to just go counterclockwise. There's literally no rhyme or reason for it. I've done it and it's ingrained in my head. So the edges are really nice, both on the sides and the bottom here, looking good. And so next is the surface. So for older cards especially, I always want to try to see if I see any like silver scratches or anything like that across the text. And this Alakazam is in excellent shape in terms of surface. You can obviously see too, right here behind the Alakazam, there from this angle specifically, there are no print lines, there's no major issues, so this is a really good shape. The only thing, and you guys can probably see it hopefully a little bit better when I zoom in, right at the tip of my mouse is a little bit of dust, I believe. So you can probably get rid of that pretty easily with just something like a microfiber cloth or probably even a Q-tip, just very gently kind of brush that off. So the surface grade would be most likely improved by doing so. So as we flip it over in the back, someone was saying yesterday that cards don't get graded on the back. They do. Cards are assessed both on the front and on the back. So just in case if you didn't know that, now you know. Overeem, thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate it. So as we, again, do the same exact assessment, but this time around, it slightly looks a little off-center from the right to the left, but not by much. But as we look at the corners, however, we do see what's called whitening. So we see some whitening there on the top right as well as the top left. So those will kind of impact the corner score as well as some of the edge score if we see some. So on this left side looking good, the bottom left corner looking really nice. We do see a little bit, it's probably going to be really hard to see on stream, but there are a little bit kind of some dust particles that can be easily removed with a microfiber cloth, so I'm not too worried about it. But as you can see here on this right side, more kind of like the bottom, like bottom middle on the right edge, you can see a little bit of whitening on that edge. But all in all, really, I think the biggest thing saving this Dark Alakazam and really making it shine, no pun intended for it being hollow, is that there are little to no scratches on this card. So it is absolutely insane how good condition this is, and I honestly agree with you guys that I think a PSA 8 assessment is a very fair grade, for sure. Are you still accepting cards for grade review? Yes, I always do. The queue for today is closed, but I have this stream every week, so you can submit as many as you want, totally for free. It is first come, first serve, so if you want your cards assessed a little faster, the Discord does now have subscriptions for expedited, along with some other perks that are in there. So definitely check those out if you're interested in having your cards assessed a little bit faster. But yes, always accepting, always willing to look at cards I personally don't own and living vicariously through chat. So next up. So pretty much, not to spoils, non-spoils, today's submission by Poke is pretty much just straight Team Rocket. And if any of you have heard some of the recent news based on some kind of like more legal movement in the Pokemon space, it does look like Pokemon is going to be making another Team Rocket set in the near future. So that's very exciting for us Team Rocket fans. I personally love the Team Rocket set. I loved the original and Team Rocket Return, so it'll be really cool to see Pokemon go back to the Team Rocket era, so super excited about that. So next up, we got the Dark Blastoise. Let me zoom in a little bit here so you guys can see a little bit more detail. Centering of this card looking extremely nice. Edges also looking very nice. The text looking really good, as well as the holo looking really nice. And I believe, and this is kind of nice too, if you ever are considering or have done it in the past to submit your cards for grade review, this one also has a different angle. And man, look how good that holo looks, chat. That is amazing. And it almost looks like, and I might be wrong for any holo swirl lovers out there, right next to the cannon, we got a little bit of almost like a swirl getting shot out of the cannon. And if you don't see it, I guess just you have to use your imagination. Use your imagination that the Blastoise is shooting a swirl out of the cannon. So, but yeah, amazing looking card. Again, from the 2 angles that we've seen, there are no major print lines, which is a pretty big issue in this era. But the fact that we don't see it right now is really impressive. So again, kudos to Poke taking care of these cards. And as well as the back, kind of the same thing that we saw for the Alakazam. We have some whitening in the corners, as well as partially on the edges. We have some surface wear type stuff. We have a little bit of, let me kind of scroll down a little bit. Omega, welcome. Zelda and Salmon, welcome. It is sick for a new set. Skillix, for sure. I'm super pumped. We have some whitening on the bottom left, but all in all, I think the only thing that if I had to critique, I'm hoping that these little 3 white dots, so we got 1, 2, and 3, I'm hoping can be removed with a microfiber cloth. I'm hoping. So definitely fingers crossed for you on that, for sure. So now that we have seen the Dark Blastoise, let's see, chat. What do you guys think? And let me make the poll. There we go. So a poll should have popped up as a little blue kind of clipboard if you want to vote on what you think this card would get. So here is the front of the Blastoise if you're coming in for the front. I honestly, Chief, did not see anything wrong with the front of this Dark Blastoise, personally. So both this angle on the holo as well as this angle on the holo, I'm really not seeing a whole lot. And for us swirl lovers, we did discover one kind of getting shot out of the cannon, so that's always cool. And really the only issue that we could tell was on the back. We do have some whitening on the top corners here, and possibly something on this surface, but it almost looks like this can probably just get wiped off. But that's my only guess. But anyway. But yeah, as you guys are voting, I'm going to just catch up with chat real quick. But yeah, super nice looking card so far. The Dark Alakazam was in really nice shape. This Dark Blastoise is in really nice shape. Super nice. I don't believe so, Tony. We are currently on Poke's submission, the first one of the night. So, but yeah, definitely. While you guys are voting in the poll, again, there should be a little blue clipboard in the top left-hand corner of your device if you want to tap that and weigh in. So that way, once we do a calculated average, I average all the votes together, and that's going to be what the chat score is. Yes, these estimates all are for PSA specifically. Just to be honest, I have the most experience with PSA. So all my kind of critiques and observations are just from more of a PSA background. That's awesome, Rhino. We're a big swirl community over here, so welcome. Okay, so the chat average is a PSA 8. So the average votes are in. We got a PSA 8 for the Dark Blastoise. So what do I think now what this Dark Blastoise would get? So centering is really good on this card. The edges are also really good, and the corners are really good. The surface on the text, I see no scratches. I see no imperfections. And from this angle, because we have 2, this angle doesn't really show me any little to no scratches. If there are any, I can't see them. So I'm just going to go into it by saying, yeah, I don't see any. So on this angle, which is a little bit more saturated, which is kind of nice, the only thing that I could possibly see, but I don't even think it'd be like going to take it that much, is maybe, but again, this is a very hard maybe, that there might be some slight scratches right there where the tip of my mouse is, but that's kind of pushing it. Other than that, this card is in absolutely great shape from the front. So as always, we have to flip it on the back because we grade both the front and the back. That's what I'm saying. Hey, watch. Hopefully they don't see it. Hopefully they don't see it for Poke's sake. So on the back, we do have a little bit of whitening on the corners, both on that top right and that top left. We also have some little 3 white dots I'm hoping can be removed. And let me just zoom out a little bit so you guys can see what I'm talking about. So hopefully these little 3 dots can be removed. But overall centering looks to be within range. And then a slight amount of whitening on that bottom left. So I would say for this one, if these can't come off, we're looking at a pretty solid 8. But I think, I think you could possibly get lucky and get a 9 if you can remove these dots here. And depending on how severe, because sometimes depending on the angle, a lot of these like whitened edges look a little bit worse than they actually are. So I'm hoping for a 9, but I think to be more on the conservative side, I'd probably say an 8 as well. So yeah. So my grade for this Dark Blastoise would probably be an 8, and then chat is also an 8. So good job, chat. J-Bone, you have not missed anything. Yeah, I'm still. This is the first submission of the night, so you're chilling. How do you remove the dots? So unless it's like an ink error or something like that, to where it was just kind of taken off or wasn't pressed on, there's really not much you can do, unfortunately, with those dots. Really, like the only thing, if they can be removed, you can use something like a microfiber cloth or a Q-tip and some distilled water. Is a really common technique that I personally use. But it all depends. It really all depends. All right, so next up, again, we're continuing on with the Team Rocket theme. And we got this nice lizardy boy named Dark Charizard. You know him, you love him, or you hate him, because Charizard has been printed into the ground. I think if you look at how many Charizards there are a lot of different times that this card has been printed. But this card, the Dark Charizard in particular, probably one of my favorite Zards. Safari, thanks so much for liking the live. And before I continue, I appreciate anyone that has followed, shared, or liked the live. If I missed you, I apologize. Definitely appreciate all the love and support. You guys have been showing so much love and so much support. It really does mean a lot. I'm glad that you guys like this style of content. It really does mean the world to me, because I don't really do like rip and ships or don't sell anything, like during live streams. This is purely just for the community, and I appreciate it. So thank you. Oof and Mavis, thanks so much for the follow. Thanks so much. Hey, Civic, how's it going? All right. So, the Dark Charizard. As first edition, no less. So, we got to really be careful here and really give a good assessment as much as we can. That's what I'm saying, Safari. There's a lot of really clean cards from Poke submission so far. That's awesome, Nate. Congratulations. And Civic, I'm super excited for you to go to Collecticon. Hopefully you decided whether or not you want that signature or not. If you wanted my opinion, I think definitely go for it. I think that's too cool of an opportunity to pass up, in my opinion. All right, so centering. So centering looks good. But again, as we kind of look on the edges here, and let me zoom out just so you guys can see a little bit better on the magnifying tool here. So as we kind of look at this edge, we do see a little dust here on the top. It can be removed pretty easily. I'd say with, again, a little microfiber cloth or Q-tip into some distilled water. So again, I'm not gonna be too focused on that, but that is something to consider. Left corner looking good. The left edge looking good. Again, these cards are in immaculate condition, man. They are doing a really good job so far. And then again, the hollow, especially looking near the Charizard's head, especially in this kind of like this lighter blue spot, as well as this darker section, pretty much looks pack fresh, to be honest. With the exception of this little like dirt blemish that you can probably get rid of. But as we flip it over, really the only thing I can see is a little bit of whitening here on that left side, right where my mouse is hovering. And as we kind of go along, it starts to get a little bit blurry here, but we can kind of make out some of it. A little bit of either dust or debris or something that, again, I think you can get rid of. But we do have at least 1, 2, possibly 3 on there. And as we kind of look around these edges, almost looks like a little off center too, from the right to the left. Not by much, but the centering does appear to be a little off from the right to the left, as I kind of look at it a little bit more. But that top right corner and the bottom right corner looking pretty good. But aside from that, the surface looks really clean. Again, it practically looks pack fresh, which is insane to talk about for a first edition Holo Dark Charizard from Team Rocket, a set that came out in, 1999, 2000. So it's really nice. But let me stop yapping and let's see what you guys think. So a new poll should have popped up. Again, it looks like a little clipboard in the top left-hand corner of your device if you want to weigh in on what you think this Zard would get. And another swirl detected. Let's see. Oh, yes. Look at that. Pink, I'm glad you're in here to kind of call out these swirls. If I miss them, definitely shout out. But as you guys are voting, I think I saw a few people ask. So if you are curious about how to submit your cards for a free grade review, head over to our Discord. The best way to get to our Discord is there's two really easy ways. The first easy way is if you go to one of my pinned videos on my TikTok, the thumbnail should read grade review and how to. So it's about a 45-second video. The thumbnail looks like that real quick on screen. You just give that a watch. It's about a 45-second video. It teaches you how to join the Discord, what channel to submit, and the most important, I cannot stress this enough, are the instructions on how to submit, because it makes it very hard, for example, to review a card that's in a top loader or a sleeve. But again, it's a completely free service. It's a first come, first serve. But if you want a little bit faster, you can subscribe. There are subscription tiers now in the Discord server as well to have expedited grading. So that's how you do it. And the other way that you can do it as well is if you go to my website, galaxiagamingtcg.com, and go to my socials, there is a Discord link that you can also click to go. All right, so the poll. The poll is done. All right, so the average. So chat score is a 9. So chat is thinking 9. All right, so again, we got to be really careful here about this Zard, right? Because this is a pretty important one. If you decide to get this graded, this is a pretty important one. So let's take it as seriously as possible. So the centering looks good, corners look good, and the edges look good on the front at least. The only thing that you'll probably need to get cleaned or get rid of is that little black dot right at the tip of my mouse, so you can kind of see on screen with this magnifying tool. Aside from that, the text on this card, I don't see anything major that is standing out. This actually might be something that I'm just kind of, it might be either the camera or actually something on that card right there where the tip of my mouse is towards the bottom right edge. But as we kind of look around, the foiling is in really, really good shape. Nothing standing out on the Zard. So really the only thing is the dot on the top and maybe something on that bottom right, but I don't know if that's just how the picture was taken. Aside from that, I think really the only thing that I can really think of is possibly some mild whitening on the bottom right-hand side, as well as the top left of this backside. I think based off of how the picture is taken, my guess is that these little white specks are just kind of like on the outer edge of the card. I don't think it's actual like what we would kind of categorize as whitening on the edges, because I have seen some of that. But aside from that, it might, because I've seen this on a few different pictures, you can kind of see it's a little bit blurry. So we have to kind of consider that as well. But I would say, again, if we can get those cleaned and a little bit of the centering on this back, I would probably, again, I would hope that you would get a 9. But I'd probably say an 8. But still really impressive that the fact that this Zard has lasted this long, and the fact that we don't really see any major scratching on the holo, and we had a swirl towards the tail. So that is super nice. Super, super nice. All right, so next up, we have the Dark Dragonite. Probably one of my personal favorites from Team Rocket. The big one, it's always, again, anytime I come across a card that hits an error, I always like to talk about it just in case, because not everyone knows about certain error cards. So, out of curiosity, as I'm kind of clearing for the next one, does anyone know what error that you should be looking for pertaining to Dark Dragonite specifically? Does anyone know about the Dark Dragonite error? I'll give it a second, because if you know it or can find it, it is literally like thousands of dollars more if you can discover it. Milky and Michael, thanks so much for the follow. Yes, so a few people are already saying it. So the set number. So it's considered the non-hollow error Dark Dragonite. So what that means is if you ever see a Dark Dragonite that is not hollow, always take a look in the bottom right-hand corner. If you have in your possession a Dark Dragonite non-hollow that it has a set number of 5 out of 82, you are currently in possession of probably one of the most sought-after error cards of the WotC era. So that means that card that you're holding was meant to have the hollow printing, but did not. So if you see a non-hollow Dragonite that has the 5 out of 82, pick it up as soon as you can if it's in like a bulk box or something like that. So word to the wise. So last Sai and Gail Rembau, if I pronounce that one right. Appreciate the follows. Thanks so much. All right, so let us get into this again. Another beautiful, absolutely gorgeous holo from the Team Rocket set. Charles, thanks so much for the follow. Come on, Pink. you're my swirl detective. Trevor, thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate it. All right, so centering looks good. Edges look good. Corners look good. Poke is making my job very easy tonight. I do see a little bit of dirt next to the E starting for evolves, so we can probably get that cleaned, so not too worried about that. The text on the Dark Dragonite is also in really good shape. And the other thing that, on top of Dark Dragonite and the error that I was just kind of talking about, Ryan, thanks so much for the follow, appreciate it, is that with normal types, so Snorlax or Chansey or Ditto or Dragonite from Fossil, a lot of normal types tend to be a little bit harder to grade just because of the contrast of the card itself. So sometimes it does makes a little bit harder to grade normal type or colorless type Pokemon. Because scratches tend to kind of stick out because of the lighter backgrounds or the more contrast backgrounds. So, but so far, I see no print lines. I see no scratches on this holo. It is an extremely gorgeous card. So let's flip it over. And man, even on the back chat, this is really, really good shape. I mean, we're talking the corners are really nice. I think based off of how the pick... So it's going to be a little bit tougher because we're actually looking at, a picture from a phone with some flash and some lighting. So some of this that you kind of see on the top isn't necessarily whitening, and more than not, because I've seen this a few times, is that it's just from the lighting of the camera or just the angle in which the picture was taken. So in my opinion, based off of the number I've done of these, that's probably just a camera illusion or just awkward camera lighting. The only thing I can see is probably that little dot on that top left-hand corner, but really not that bad. But as we kind of go around, that bottom left-hand corner looking really nice. A little bit of fuzz or a hair that can probably just getting wiped off, as well as a little bit of whitening here. Again, probably get wiped off. And then the only thing, but I think it'd be within kind of the parameter, is if I had to really pick something, it might be very slightly off center from the right to the left, but I think it's within that 10 centering for the score specifically. But again, it might just be the angle too, because it is a little bit kind of facing that way. But again, an extremely gorgeous Dark Dragonite. It is pretty impressive. I keep kind of saying it, but it is impressive how good a condition these cards are. All right, so let us start a new poll. So again, these are really important, chat. So these cards are all first edition so far. I don't think we've had a Team Rocket Unlimited yet. So a poll should be active on your device now. It should look like a little blue clipboard in the top left-hand corner of your device. So again, as a reminder, the chat grade is the average or the winning vote of the poll. So if you want to submit and what you think this card would get, definitely tap that blue poll button to weigh in on what you think this card would get, so that we can give the most accurate chat grade that we possibly can. So as you guys are voting, I'm just going to catch up with chat real quick. You guys are awesome. You guys are flying around. Turn it around. I got you, Drainer. There is the back. Right, Ototen. The moment you start looking up non-holo Dragonite errors, the price goes a little crazy. Goes a little crazy. How do you properly clean dirt off a Pokemon card? I would say the best way, if you haven't seen any of my videos before, Des Art, is just a Q-tip and into some distilled water, in addition to a microfiber cloth. So I would definitely recommend testing on cards you don't care about, just to kind of get a sense of how wet the Q-tip or microfiber should be. Yeah, that's my really quick answer to that question. Gonzo, thanks so much for the follow. Yeah, I think it's a little bit of the film grain Drainer. In addition, because I've seen this more times than I can count for people who do these submissions. Sometimes it's just based off of how the picture was taken or the angle. But I know exactly what you're talking about. I kind of agree with you. Yes, first editions are the rarest, well, back in Wizards of the Coast era. Because these were the first edition prints, and then they shifted to unlimited. So technically, it's rarer than unlimited. So they're a little bit more sought after. All right, so let us wrap it up here. So chat. So the chat grade, and it's pretty well established here based off of those numbers. So chat grade is a 9. So what do I think this Dark Dragonite from Team Rocket would get? So let's take a look. So the centering, corners, and edges are, I'm just going to be really honest, are in really nice shape. The holo is in immaculate condition. I see nope. So being a colorless, I was really expecting print lines or anything like that, but I really don't see any. Just from the angle, granted, we're just basing it off of the picture that we've seen, but I don't see any from this angle. The only thing I can see is a little bit of dirt that we can probably get cleaned off right above the stage 2 to improve that surface score even more. But let's flip it over. And then as for the back, again, and I kind of highlighted it a little bit, but these like kind of glowing edges here on that left side as well as the top, I'm going to just based off of what I've seen in past submissions and people in chat kind of confirming those suspicions, that this is more of either film grain or a degree of just camera lighting and just how the angle of the card in which it was taken. So I'm not too worried about that, to be honest. Really, the only thing that I can see that can't be removed is this possible small white dot in the top left-hand corner. But that's it. I mean, if I really had to, possibly a little bit off center from this right to the left, but I still think it's within that range. So I really think that if this is really the only thing I can see with that little white dot, I also agree with chat on this one. I think you have a pretty solid 9 on your hands here with just that little white dot being there. But if it's not, and if you can wipe that off, I'd probably say even a 10 if that can be removed, but it doesn't look like it. But man, again, first edition Team Rocket, that card looks insane. So yeah, I think I saw a few people asking, so just in case if you are wondering how to submit your cards for grade review like we're doing now, I will have while I queue up the next one, there should be a quick picture on your device. So that is a thumbnail of a pinned video of my TikTok called Grade Review and How To. So it's about a 45-second video. You just watch that. It'll tell you how to join the Discord, what channel to join. But the most important one is how to take proper pictures, because unfortunately we can't, properly assess a card that's in a top loader or a sleeve. It's a completely free service, but it is first come, first serve. So if you're trying to get your cards assessed for free, or just get your cards assessed before paying to get them sent off to PSA, The server also has subscriptions inside of the Discord to give you priority over the standard grade review. So that is how you join. Trevor and Smiley Face, thanks so much for the follows. I appreciate it. And the last submission for Poke, because he has hit the max 5 for the week, is we are looking at the Dark Golbat. Again, a first edition. So super nice, super clean. And let's get right into it. So again, I'm kind of sounding like a broken record here, but it's a good thing. The fact that I'm saying that the centering, corners, and edges are good on Vintage is a good sign. I'd rather say that all the time. So, this might sound stupid, but to sell my cards, would I have to get them graded? No, you definitely don't have to get them graded in order to sell. You'll just have to properly assess what their raw condition is. If you stay around long enough, you'll definitely figure out what to look for sure. But the only thing that I see, that's probably I would imagine that's probably a hair or something that can be removed. Let's see. But the hollow, again, is in super clean shape on that front. There's really not much to talk about on this front part, chat. So let's flip it on over. All right, so finally we see some flaw. Not happy about it, but Manos, you're kind of on a pretty hot streak there. So we kind of look at the edges and the corners up top, but as we kind of go around kind of counterclockwise, yeah, exactly, Sam, my grade review day, gotta love it, is that we start to get a little bit of whitening, a little bit more noticeable this time around on this bottom right side. So we have one right there where the tip of my mouse is, as well as another one where the tip of my mouse is. So it is unfortunate a little bit, but again, the fact that your cards have been in such good condition so far is pretty crazy. So yeah, let me start a new poll. So new poll is started if you want to vote on what you think this card would get to help us get the chat grade. If you want to vote in, the clipboard on the top left-hand corner of your device should be active now. And while you guys are doing that, I'm going to remove this 9 and this 8. And boom. Chef Boy RJ, thanks so much for the follow. And Disaster, thanks so much for the follow. And Gonzo, thanks so much for the share. I appreciate that. I found a holographic one of these cards in a library book. Well, there you go. No swirl detected. The swirl detector has concluded that there is no swirls on this Dark Golbat. But I saw a dude shave the white off a card. That's risky for sure. That is super risky. But, you know, at the end of the day, you can do whatever you want. I know another technique that you can do that I'm starting to get a little bit more practice with is using a humidor to kind of, not like, I guess inflate is the wrong word, but make it a little bit more humid to kind of puff up the card to try to very gently kind of roll back or flatten out some of the whitening depending on if it's curled or not. That's really the only way, and it's pretty rare, to be honest, that you can even have that opportunity to do so. But yeah, so there's the back of it as well. I apologize. Most of what the issues with this card is on the back than it is on the front. But yeah. But again, a really nice submission. It's been pretty crazy how clean this card has been, or how clean your cards have been. How do you join the Discord? So probably the quickest way for me to answer that, Bad, is if you go to my website, galaxiagamingtcg.com, and in my social section, there should be a Discord icon. Just click that, and then there should be a grade review channel. Just make sure to follow all the rules that are pinned on that. What about the fuzzies on the left side of the card? I think that's more of just like film grain and just how the angle of the picture. It makes it a little bit tough, but all right. So the poll is done. So chat grade is thinking between 7 to 6. So what am I thinking this Dark Golbat would get? Centering, corners, and edges on the front are really good. No major scratching on the front. No major scratching that I can tell on the hollow, which is insane, especially in this dark spot. I think this is just a hair, in my opinion. But Nathan, thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate that. So the front is really good, so let's flip it over. Really, most of the issues here is primarily on the back. Probably the biggest two. The top half of this card is in really good shape. It's really more of the bottom half on the right side that we have some mild whitening. So we have some right here on that bottom right, both 1 and 2. But really the main question is, does it knock it down to an 7 or does it stay as an 8? Because I think, like, for me this is a little bit tougher than the other ones, because the main thing to consider is that the surface of this card is in really good shape, right? There's no major hollow. I think that's just a hair. There's really no major issues with the front of this card. And as we flip it over, the corners and edges are really good, with the exception of just these two here, so 1 and 2. So I would say I think if there was any more scratches on the front, I would probably argue that it'd probably get a 7. But I think the fact that the hollow is in such good shape, I would say that if there are no scratches, I would probably say an 8. However, if there are any or anything like that that we can't see, it would probably get the 7 for sure. But so I would say the 8 with a little asterisk that there are no hidden scratches that we can't see. But the front is in insane looking condition. So kudos to you. So thank you, Poke. So that was your submission for the night. So I appreciate that as always. And as I queue up the next one, I'm just going to catch up with you guys real quick. Mintage. I've cracked so many 8s cleaner than that. I couldn't see it getting lower than an 8. Yeah, I've definitely seen it. We just did a PSA submission reveal yesterday, and I had some cards that I didn't think would get certain grades, and they ended up coming back as 4s and 3s. So I don't know anymore. Let's see. I gave it an 8 because no issues on the front and minor. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too on Toten. The front is insane, because I think, like, because I've kind of mentioned it before, is that there's kind of that kind of hidden 5th category for eye appeal. And the fact that the front of this looks so good, I think is kind of saving it a little bit. So yeah, it's incredible shape for sure. Okay, so next up we have J-King. Let me get this queued up real quick. Got some Japanese this time around. So if you guys are wondering if you can submit, for those of you who are submitting in the grade review, you can submit Japanese as well. We've seen a few pretty good Japanese submissions from time to time, so I definitely don't hate it. That's for sure. Definitely don't hate it. Alright, so get that queued up. Sigma, thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate it. And Mintage, thanks so much for the follow. And for those of you who are wondering if you want to submit, for those of you who are submitting and joining the Discord, first, I appreciate it. We are having a grade review giveaway currently. So if you do submit your cards, this giveaway ends in about 6 days, so less than a week away. If you want to submit your cards for review, you will be entered in to win or have a chance to win a PSA 8 off-center. So if you guys have ever seen the off-center subgrade, or I forgot it's not a subgrade, but the name is escaping me. But it's more of a meme than anything. A really off-centered to the point where PSA recognizes it as off-center. PSA Jigglypuff first edition. So there's the front and there's the back, extremely off-center. So if you do submit your cards for grade review, you will be entered in for this giveaway for free. So definitely check that out, and I appreciate everyone that has submitted in the grade review channel. To begin with, again, this is a completely free service that I love providing to the community. It gives us a chance to look at some really cool cards. So much love and much support. Scrappy, thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate it. what's your website to join the Discord. So if you go to galaxiagamingtcg.com, and in my socials section, there is a Discord icon that you can just click, and it should redirect you right to the Discord. So yeah, so if your cards are so off center that it has like dot lines or centering lines, you can get the illustrious OC grade. So, all right. So without further ado, let's get into J King submission. So I'm doing great, Ooze. How's it going, man? Always nice to see you. They do still grade those, J King. They definitely do. Because I graded, when I found out that they re-allowed metal cards to be graded, I submitted 4 Charizards and 4 Pikachus, like instantly. Can an OC get a 10 too? I'm not too sure, Lalo. I don't think I've ever personally have seen a card got a PSA 10 with an OC subgrade or whatever, like grading qualifier. That's what it's called, a grading qualifier. I've only seen them as like 8s, to be honest. But they definitely still grade metal cards for sure. All right, so next up we have the Lieutenant Surge's Raichu. So far, let's look at the centering. Centering looking good, corners looking good. Man, your guys' cards are insanely in good condition. It is actually, I'm jealous for most of these. It's insane how well you guys keep your cards. Yeah, I'm really not seeing a whole lot of wrong for this. That's what I'm thinking, Otone, because centering is one of the grading criteria. I don't think there would be ever a 10. You just get the grading qualifier, I think, at that point. These are my safe cards. Uh-oh. Well, so far I can see why that's the case, because these are in really good shape. Like this, like these are insanely good shape. The corners are in really good shape. The centering is really good. And that's what's kind of nice about vintage Japanese, is that this red line on the back really makes it easier to gauge centering. So man, I think you've been here obviously before, J King. I think really the only thing that I can see is I would just double check the centering on the top and the bottom. But aside from that, because like the only thing that's making me say that is this looks a little bit like kind of like weirdly off center, but not by no means by like makes it an 8 or a 9 even. That's all good, Chris. But yeah, this is I honestly think that this might be your first 10 contender based off of what I'm seeing. I'm not too sure. Chris, thanks so much for liking the live. I appreciate that. But I legitimately think that this might be the first 10 contender of the night. So that's really nice. Poke, thanks so much for the tiny dinies as always. Appreciate it. All right, next up, we got the Rockets Moltres. Man, these are in such good shape, dude. These are so nice. I'm really just trying to find, like, the centering is in this one's, the centering is super good. Linda Hart, thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate it. But man, yeah, there's no scratches on this one from what I can tell. Possible swirl? I don't know, maybe? But let's see. Yes, Jerry, this is a completely free service. It's kind of my way of kind of offering it to the community. Completely free. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I think there's enough people on this app that try to sell you stuff. I don't need to be one of them. The only thing I'll offer is if you want this like priority, because this is a first come first serve. There is a subscription tiers on the Discord server that you can get expedited grading for grade review, but that's about it. But man, I think really the only thing that I can tell. And here we go, chat. The first time I'm bringing out the physical ruler of tonight. So the big thing I'm measuring right now is the right to the left. So on my screen with the ruler that I have, So the right side is about a 1/4 inch from the edge to the red line, and then on the right, it's just under that 1/4 inch. So I would say, Jerry, thanks so much for following the live. I appreciate it. So I would say definitely measure this right side to the left. From my measurement, again, I'm literally pressing a ruler against my monitor. But so far, this is probably the only thing wrong with it. It's just this right side's a little bit thicker than the left. But I think on the back, it's like 70-30, I believe. But I could be wrong. Definitely double check me on that. But I think the back has a little bit more leniency than the front. But I think it's 60-40, 70-30. But I think you might be good. But the front is in amazing shape. Deep Sea, just a question for everyone. Do they grade Era printed code cards or no? I don't know if they grade code cards. I know they grade like what's it called? Those stupid V-Star counters or V-Star cards or whatever. I know they grade those. Soba, thanks so much for the follow. But I don't know if they grade code cards. I have no idea. But yeah, I would say for this one, definitely check out the centering on here from the right to the left. So this might get you the 9, because I legitimately don't see anything wrong with this card at first glance. But hey, Betty, how's it going? Nice to see you. Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard. I agree with you. I don't think I've ever heard anyone trying to grade a code card. That's interesting. They do, Grom. You should definitely look them up. There was like a little period where people were trying to like quote unquote sell them for like $100 or something crazy. I don't know if that was actually just like shill bidding or what, but there was like a small window of time where people were like, "Oh my god, you can grade V-Star cards." It was kind of ridiculous, but teach their own, I guess. So let's see. Honestly, J King, if you don't have a centering tool, it's honestly okay. As long as you have a ruler with like millimeter markers, that's clear, you can pretty much do the same thing, honestly. Like the grading tool just makes it a little bit easier because you can kind of like overlay the tool on top of the card. So you can kind of see like the left, right, top, bottom. But this one, however, from what I can tell, and again, I'll even put the ruler is coming back out, chat. So on the left, the left side does look a little bit thicker than the right. So if we look on the left, we got a 1/4 inch on the right, on the left, and then almost 1/8 of an inch on the right. So I think that because of it being off center and it might be outside of that acceptable 50-50, 60-40 range, this might get the 9 because it's a little bit thicker on this left side than it is on the right. But again, obviously, anytime I mention centering on stream, always check for yourself because mine's going to be different from what I can tell. But yeah. So on the front and then the back, it is crazy like how like is really the only thing. I'm not kidding. These are all like the only reason, chat, why I'm not doing a let's see. So the only reason why I'm not having chat assist with the grading is all these cards essentially look pack fresh. It's pretty crazy. It's scorching today, I bet. It was pretty hot here for a little bit. It like jumped up like 20 or 25 degrees. It was pretty crazy. But yeah, that's literally the only reason why, like, I'm obviously seeing your guys' comments in the chat. But these cards are essentially pack fresh. It's pretty impressive. But again, I would say for this Kingdra, measure this left side. So from the left to the right, that's probably the only thing. 108, I would never leave the house if it was 108. I would just sit in my freezer if it was 108. That's crazy. And I saw a few people mention it, so I'll just talk about it briefly. So if you guys are wondering what I'm doing, this is grade review, where you guys can submit your cards in the Discord for free for us to assess what we think the PSA grade would get, both myself and chat. The only reason why chat's not doing it right now is because these cards are essentially pack fresh. It really just comes down to centering and if we see any whitening, which is kind of crazy. But the best way is I have a screenshot on screen right now. So that is a pinned video in my TikTok called Grade Review and How To. It's about a 45-second video. If you watch that, it'll tell you how to join the Discord, what channels to submit in, and most importantly, I cannot emphasize this enough, the proper instructions on how to take pictures, because it's very difficult for us as stream to watch, or to assess rather, a card's condition if it's in a top loader or a sleeve. And we are also doing a grade review giveaway. So if you submit in the grade review channel, you are entered in to win a PSA 8 off center, which is a grading qualifier, Jigglypuff. So definitely check that out. And thanks to Betty for pinning that. If you guys have any questions, just let us know. So, and then also if you want to, Chef, if you want to go to my website, it's probably the easiest as well. GalaxiaGamingTCG.com. It's also linked in my bio. In my social section, there's also a Discord icon that you can go into too, like what Betty is saying. Okay. Dark Gyarados. Going back to the Team Rocket stuff. Let me measure. I'm measuring the right side quickly. At first glance, it looks a little bit thicker, but I think it's within that. I think it's within that range. So let me just double check. So it's slightly less than a quarter inch. Yeah, I think we're good. I think we're good. Jazz, thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate that. Man, your cards, guys, are just in crazy shape. In a good way. It's insane. Okay, so the only thing... So this is what's always nice, too. So if you guys have ever considered submitting your cards for grade review, again, a completely free service, it always helps, too, if you're in chat. So, for example, if Jay King, if you're here, one of the big things I'm curious about is towards the bottom left, where my mouse is currently on stream. Is that a piece of debris, or is that whitening on the edge? I'll give you a second to look. So that's what's nice, because Jay King will actually be able to tell us in real time what that actually is. So it makes the assessment as, as honest as we can possibly get it, because again, it does cost money to submit to PSA. So we want to try to make sure that we look at every little imperfection as possible, and the fact that someone that has the card actually in their possession can kind of clarify some questions that we see when we're doing the review. So it's always nice to see. So while I'm kind of waiting for Jay King to get back on whether that's a piece of dust or not, I'm going to catch up with chat. So Jazz, thanks so much for the follow. Exia, thanks so much for the follow. And Liang, thanks so much for liking the live. Appreciate that. And Bliss, Crystal, I apologize. I just saw that you sent the heart. Thank you so much. And for those of you who have followed and shared and liked the live that I've missed, first, I apologize. But second off, I appreciate it. I do this, again, as a completely free service. I don't like to try to sell stuff during these live streams. I think there's enough of that on this platform already. So any love and support that I get, it's just a good way for me to kind of get that feedback on whether or not you guys like this style of content. So it's very much appreciated. So as we're waiting, Leanne and Phoenix, thanks so much for sharing the lives. I appreciate it. So I'm thinking what you're talking about with the dust, I could be wrong. This might be some dust in that bottom right-hand corner. I think I caught it, what you were checking out, but I think that might be a little bit of dust, so I'm not really too worried about it. So it's dust. So Jay King, just to confirm, so you're saying that left side, that's just dust, or in the bottom right-hand corner? Because that's really the big one is that bottom left side, if whether or not that was dust or not. It's all good, Phoenix. It's all good. Okay, so it's gone. Okay, so Jay King, based off of what he's saying in chat, looks to be that what I'm having on screen right now looks to have been dust. So we can kind of ignore that a little bit. Bottom left corner whitening. I think if we're talking about that, Liang, I think that's what Jay King just talked about wiping off, I believe. And then this as well, I believe. The only thing that I can kind of now see, maybe there's some white... No, it's all good. I think I see some possible whitening on the bottom there, like right where the tip of my mouse is. I don't know if you guys can see that, but Chris, thanks so much for the roses. I appreciate that. Thanks so much. Always appreciate the support. But that might be some whitening. Awesome. Thanks so much. Travis, thanks so much for following. I appreciate that. Tiny white dot, I can confirm. Okay, so the only whitened dot that we see so far is the bottom there. So I think with that, based off how good the condition is on the front, depending on the size, I think you're looking at, because again, if you said that you wiped off that left side and the fuzz on the bottom right side, if that's the only little imperfection that we can see, you might be hopefully lucky with a 9, maybe an 8 if you get a bad grader or something. I'm not too sure. But the centering on this looks really good on the front side as well as the back. So really, I think the only thing that would be holding you back is probably that little whitening on the bottom. So that might get you the 9, maybe an 8, depending on if there's something that we don't see. But I don't think Dark Gyarados, in terms of if you're looking on like a return on investment, I'm not too sure what that'd yield. But okay, so the final submission for Jake King tonight is the Dark Arbok. So I think right off the bat, if I'm gonna be honest, I see that the right side is a bit thicker than the left. So we are having some off-centering issues on the front of this. But aside from that, the hollow looks really good. Not a lot of scratches from what we can tell. So always good to see that. And on the back, don't see any major centering issues on the back. And I don't see any whitening on the corners or edges or anything like that. So that just looks like a piece of dust on that right side. As well as that on the bottom. Just looks like anything I'm seeing on the back just looks like dust. And then just to triple check, I'm going to measure that left side. That's what's so nice about vintage Japanese is that red line makes it really easy to measure centering. So I think you're within the range of that centering on the back looking good, because on my end, it looks like a 1/4 inch on the left, like almost right onto the line of a 1/4 inch. And on the right, you're just shy, like literally half on, half off the line of a 1/4 inch. So this, I would say this probably would get you, because this looks like at first glance, this looks pretty off center. So you might get the 8 just because of the centering, would be my guess. But the other cards that you had, like the Lieutenant Surge's Raichu and the Rocket's Moltres, those are probably your best. Like if you had to pick like 2 out of the 5 to submit, I would definitely say the Lieutenant Surge's Raichu. I think that was like the first like potential PSA 10 contender that we had for the night. I would definitely consider submitting that for sure. So again, thank you, Jake King, as always, taking advantage of that subscription grade review. So I appreciate that. And next up so we have the final sub submission for the night. This is Ankang Valkos on Discord. So let us get theirs prepared. All right, so we got that one. Got some little bit of Japanese, modern. We got some vintage. Which is always a nice little range here. But yeah, definitely the Raichu is probably your best one for sure. No, if this is your submission, Chris, I don't believe so. Let's see. We got a big lot from someone local. Nice. That's always nice. Oh, okay, Chris. That's what. Sometimes it makes it a little bit tougher, because sometimes people's TikTok names are different. But okay, so let's get right into it. So first, thank you, Chris, for your submission, and thank you, J King and Poke, for your submissions. Always appreciate that. Oh yeah, garage sales are nuts. Sometimes if you're lucky and if you wake up early enough, you can get some really good deals. Like I bought I showed it off in the Discord, but I bought a copy of Animal Crossing for the GameCube in really good shape for $5. They like retail for like 50. So It's on top of the it's on top of the top loader, Chrome. So luckily it's not inside of the top loader, which is good. It's just on top. Okay, so modern. Modern, we tend to go pretty quick. So really the thing that we're looking for is centering. So let me measure this real quick for you. So again, I can't stress it enough. What my measurements are going to be vastly different from what yours are. So on this one, the left is a 1/4 inch. The right is a 1/4 inch. The top, just shy. But again, the angle in which this is being taken, I'm very reluctant to measure the top and the bottom. Because the bottom apparently like looks closer to the camera than it does on the top. But the left to the right looks really good centered wise. Yeah, I think this is really well centered. I don't see anything major wrong with the corners. So like in the top left here. And let me just reset this real quick. There we go. Yeah, but these corners look really good. I would say that this probably, for you, this would probably be a good potential PSA 10 contender. Again, I would just really measure the front, the top and the bottom, because I can't really do that based off of the angle, but that's totally okay. So definitely check that out for sure. And then that was, I think that was the same one actually. Let me double check. I think you took 3 pictures of this and I just skipped it too quick. Yeah, let me actually measure the top and the bottom now. You kind of read my mind and I didn't even realize it. So we got slightly less than a 1/4 inch on the top. And then slightly less 1/4 inch on the bottom too. So yeah, I think this is pretty well centered. It's really, really nice. But that's all good, Grom. I appreciate you keeping an eye out though. Okay, so that was probably your bet, like your closest 10 contender for sure. This one, however, is not going to be, because it does appear that this right side is thicker than the left for sure. Yeah, the lighting definitely, like, there is no scratch that's going to be hidden from this lighting. I can tell you that right now. But sometimes that's what you need, you know. Sometimes that's what you need. But yeah, this right side definitely looks bigger, thicker than the left. So if we flip it over, you can also kind of see that on this as well. This right side looking thicker than the left. So unfortunately, I don't think this would get the PSA 10 that you're most likely looking for. So based off of like raw and graded prices for modern, if it were me, I probably wouldn't submit this, just because I don't personally think it would get the 10, just because of the centering. All right, so next we have the Leafeon GX. And what we noticed yesterday, if you guys were around for when we did our PSA submission reveal, is that these black lines, especially on the bottom, are not as impactful in terms of centering as I thought it once was. So again, that's to be completely transparent. That's what I like to do on this channel. The more I learn from my mistakes, and I like to kind of relay that to you guys so we can kind of learn together and get better at the hobby together. Originally, I thought that if this line wasn't basically 50-50 with the silver, that it wouldn't get the 10. However, there were some examples that we looked at yesterday during the reveal that warranted 10s. So not as harsh as I once thought. So, but aside from that, the corners look good on the front. The centering of the silver looks good on the front. So far, so good. Let's flip it over. Yeah, this card is in really good shape. I would say that this one probably would also... yes, I do, free agent. So what you're seeing right now, and for those of you who are wondering as well, this is what we call grade review. So members of the community submit their cards for free that we assess every Wednesday from 7 to about 9:30 or 10 o'clock Eastern, depending on the queue. Again, it's a completely free service to kind of give both my assessment as well as the chat's assessment, depending on what card we're looking at, to kind of give you a general idea on what your cards would get graded. I'm also trying to work on some additional services. Like if you submit your cards to me, I kind of act as like your middleman. I'll clean your cards and submit them to get graded. I'm currently working out those kinks, so definitely check out the Discord for more news and updates as that progresses. I just had Betty, if she's in here. She was a test subject of mine. She submitted a Lugia V from Silver Tempest and amazingly came back as a PSA 10. So kudos to her. For both being trusting enough in her prized possession for me to grade it, as well as kudos to her getting the PSA 10. So that was really nice. But yeah, I think this would also probably be a pretty good PSA 10 contender for sure, just based off of the back and the front. This Raichu, however, the one, I apologize if I just flashbanged everyone, with literally the sun in the bottom left of this Raichu. But yeah, definitely shield your eyes because we are about to look into the sun. Okay, so this one actually might be a good example if you haven't, because we haven't done it a little bit, meaning in like 20 or 30 minutes. So we'll do a chat grade for this Raichu. So let's again look at the centering. So possibly a little bit off center from the right to the left, but I think it's within that 50-50 to 60-40 ratio. We do, however, have some peeling in this top right-hand corner. So that's obviously going to impact the corner subgrade. So we have to keep that in mind. And we also see what's called silvering. So really, really short, because I apologize if you've heard this before, but it bears talking about. So when I mentioned silvering, so what that meant was back when they're printing base set, jungle, fossil, the blades in which would cut the sheets to make the cards, the blade would get so dull that it would start to take chips off of the top layer of the card, which would result in the center foiling being revealed, therefore causing what's called silvering. So you can kind of see a little bit here on this right edge is a good example of some of those dull blades kind of taking away from that edge wear or that edge subgrade. So we have to consider that. And so the sun, so if you guys want to blind yourselves, just stare at the sun. Stitch, thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate that. And the kind words. Really means a lot. But the corners are pretty good. Free Agent, thanks so much for the follow. But we do see some scratches on the holo itself. I'm trying not to blind anyone. All jokes aside. Let me try to zoom in up here a little bit. So we do have some scratches here, as well as up in this top part as well. Which is obviously going to take back some of that surface score. And now, if we really look in the back, here is really where kind of the grade of this is going to be pretty severely impacted. I'm not going to lie to you. So we'd see a lot of whitening on these edges, a lot of folds. So this left side, if we flip it over, that's what we're seeing on this right side here. So we have some curled edges on the top and bottom corners. Yes, there's no amount of flex tape that can fix this. Now that's a lot of damage. That's all I think of is the flex tape ad. Anyway, back to what I was doing. So the right edge have some whitening as well. But really the big thing that I see the most that's going to take a lot from this is this impact. So to me, it doesn't look like a scratch. It looks like someone almost took like a pen and pressed really hard and kind of went across the back of this card right here. So that's definitely going to take us down some pegs for sure. So now, if this is your first time here, just to give an example as we continue doing this. So I'm going to start a new poll. So a little blue kind of little notepad should have popped up in the top left-hand corner of your device. So you can vote on what you think this Raichu summoning the sun is going to get if submitted to PSA. So I take the average of what chat says, and that's what the chat grade becomes, is what the average based off of that poll. So there is the front of the Raichu, and really the major part of it, and I'm just going to leave it on the back. Most of the issues are going to be on the back of the card, for sure. So as you guys are voting, I'm just going to catch up with chat real quick. Beck, thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate it. It's definitely a Pokemon card for sure. So it's definitely higher than a PSA 1 because you can still tell that it's a Pokemon card. Jose, thanks for the likes. And for everyone that has followed and shared and liked the live, I really do appreciate it. Again, what you're seeing today is a completely free service. I don't charge for this. It's strictly my love for the hobby, and I like to kind of give my insight and kind of talk shop with members of the community. So any love and support is always appreciated. And yeah, I can't thank you guys enough. It really does mean a lot. But yeah, definitely a Pokemon card, that's for sure. All right, so let us see. So let's see where you guys are at. So chat is thinking, so we'll end it there. So chat is thinking between a 5 and a 4. So let's see. So I'm thinking, so now we get to the part where I kind of do my assessment. So the centering of this looks pretty good. So at least the sun god himself has that going for it. Really the big thing that I notice on the front that stands out the most is that curled edge right there on that right side. So we have to keep that in mind. There's also some signs of silvering on the edge. And as we blind everyone in chat, we kind of go to the left side. A little bit more silvering there. Towards the bottom looks good. Actually, the bottom actually looks really good on the front. The right side, a little bit more silvering. We do also see some scratching, which is kind of nice that there is that exposure of the light. We can really see some of these scratches really pop on that front side. So when we flip it over, this is obviously where most of the impact to the grade is going to occur, right? So all 4 corners have pretty significant whitening, I'm not going to lie. Josh, thanks so much for the follow. Right, Jose? I just flashbanged everyone. The right side definitely has some whitening, but really the big thing for me is you can kind of see this line go across that almost looks like someone took the head of a pen and just kind of really pressed down hard and kind of dragged it across. So I know just based off experience how significant dents or impacts of this are to a grade. So I would say that you're probably, just like by seeing some of the grades that I've gotten back before that have been 3s, have not looked anywhere near this. So I would probably say, like, man, I would say if it was slightly worse, I'd probably say a 2 even. But my guess, just because of that dent, would probably be a 3, in my opinion. So that's how we do the assessments if this is your first time seeing it. So this was a good example because it kind of showcased a lot of different points that we look for, as well as how chat grades work and how my grades work. So that's how we do it. So now we keep on keeping on with another. So now we are on to the Magneton. This is, for those of you who are unaware, this is not the Shadowless, because the big way that you can tell if a card is Shadowless or not for base set is if it has this shadow on that right side. It's probably the easiest way you can tell if a base set vintage Pokemon card is Shadowless or not, by looking if there's a shadow here. If it's not, if there is no shadow, then it is a Shadowless. So before I continue, I see some questions in chat, so let me just catch up with that real quick. Everett, thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate it very much. How bad do you think some white dotting on the back would hurt? It just depends on the severity, Young. Like what we just saw with that Raichu, it had a pretty significant impact because you're really bringing down what that edge subgrade would be. So for context, if you don't know what the 4 main grading criteria are for PSA, Beckett, or CGC, are centering, corners, edges, and surface. So how it works is that all 4 are basically ranked from 1 to 10, and then all are averaged together, making the overall grade. So if the edges and surface are really impacted, then it's really going to bring that card grade down. Kev, thanks so much for the follow. How do we send our cards to you to get graded? Yeah. So real quick, I'm going to pop up a screenshot on screen now. So I have a pinned video on my TikTok channel. The thumbnail reads grade review and how to. It's about a 45-second video. If you just give that a watch, it'll teach you everything you need to know about how to join the Discord, what channels to submit your cards for grade review, and most importantly, what the instructions are to properly submit. For example, we can't really assess a card if it's inside of a top loader or inside of a sleeve. So just make sure to follow those just to not get bumped out of queue. It is a completely free service. However, it is first come, first serve. So just make sure that you get it right the first time. Not to be harsh, but I just want to make sure you guys don't get knocked out. However, if you want your cards assessed faster, the Discord also offers subscriptions. Some range from $4.99 and go up from there. And it gives you expedited grading service per week. So I do grade reviews, are official every Wednesday from 7 to about 9:30, 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern. So that's how you do it. So it's completely free service unless you want it expedited, in which case the Discord does have subscriptions that you can pay for as little as $4.99 a month. If you want your cards to be expedited per grade review every Wednesday. G, thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate it. Yes, Jose, I do. The only thing I do not do is I don't use card wax. So I pretty much do everything else besides use card wax because I always have the intention of either reselling these cards or grading them. But what we're looking at today are not my cards. These are the community members' cards. All right. So the last submission for Chris is the Magneton from base set. So centering looks good. We do again see some silvering that we talked about on the Raichu is also here on the Magneton. The left side is pretty good. The bottom, again, has some, that's either dirt or silvering. I would imagine it's silvering on that edge, but if it's dirt, if you're ever wondering how to clean dirt, how I personally do it is I just use a Q-tip and some distilled water. Very gently make sure that it's really, kind of dried out, almost at 5% humidity of the Q-tip, and just very gently kind of wipe off some of that dirt and grime to improve the surface grade. But I think that's silvering. I don't think you can repair that. That right side, a little bit of silvering kind of popping out there. But right here, and I'm kind of going to just leave my mouse here. So this is a really good example on how you can improve your surface grade. What I was talking about, how all four of those main grading criteria are averaged together. So if you really want to have your surface grade improved for this example, if you took a Q-tip and some distilled water and very gently kind of massaged that dirt out and repaired that, I would imagine, I'd almost bet that you can get rid of this, which would drastically improve your surface grade for sure. So as we look here, you kind of see some other stains that can also be repaired. We see some here on that top left. We see some by the self-destruct. Obviously some here on where the Pokemon are. And then we do see some mild scratching on the hollow as well. Just from simple wear and tear. But on the back, this definitely looks better than the Raichu, that's for sure. The top right corner, that might be an illusion. And again, this might be a good time, Chris, if you are still here. And if you guys are interested in submitting for grade review, I'll always let you know when your cards are being reviewed before the stream so you don't miss it live. So for example, if Chris is still here, he can tell us if this top right-hand corner, for example, is whitening or if it's just the angle in which the picture was taken. So as we wait for Chris to kind of respond back to this top right on the back, we'll continue on. Okay, so Chris is quick with it. He said that is whitening. So there is some whitening on that top right, as well as the top left. So as we kind of move our way down, this left edge looking pretty good. This bottom left edge, a little bit of whitening there as well. But again, the back of this card looking way better than the Raichu for sure. But as we kind of look, so again, I'm very interested to see what you guys think on this one. So I'm going to start a new poll here in a few seconds. So let me start the new one. So now, again, if you want to weigh in on what you guys think this card would get as a PSA grade, there should be a little blue clipboard in the top left-hand corner of your phone. If you just tap that and weigh in on what you think this card would get, the winning vote will be the average chat grade. So definitely make sure to have your voice heard by clicking that clipboard. And while you guys are voting, I'm going to catch up with chat real quick. Let's see. PSA definitely has rejected cards for altering. Yes. So PSA, the CEO of PSA has officially made like a Twitter announcement, I guess, to where if you use card wax and you're trying to submit a card to grade, they will consider it an alteration. So I've said that a few times on my stream, but it's worth repeating. I personally try to not use card wax because it is considered alteration, and I view it as a risk to my business. Now, I will say there are people in the community. I don't know if she's in here, Pokey and Pink, is a really good example of using card wax just for your own personal collection, because you can really use card wax to make your personal collection look really nice if you never intend on selling it. That's the only time that I really advocate for it, because that really does make the cards look really nice. But that's the only time I'd ever advocate for it. Other than that, I never would. Are we including if we tried to remove the dirt? So what I'm doing, Vintage, it's kind of up to you. When I do my assessment, I'll kind of give what I would say if you can get rid of the dirt versus if you can't. But that's how I normally do it. So kind of do it however you want. I would say if you're voting for the chat, kind of assume that you can't. But oh, not that's awesome, JK or J King. I don't know why I just said JK. I appreciate you like letting us see some of your more sentimental cards. That's really cool. Super excited to see them. I have not used Miracle Card Cleaner now, because most of it, honestly, is just distilled water. Because a lot of people, there are some services that market it, market cleaning solutions, but at the end of the day, most of it is just distilled water, unless there's like a patent pending or some different chemical that is being introduced. But if it's not water, you're kind of tipping the scale back into having a greater, like, think that it's alteration. So just be mindful of that. All right. So you guys are thinking 7 to 6. So 7 to 6. All right. So how am I feeling about this Magneton? So first is the centering. So the centering on this front of this card is looking really good. The big thing that I'm seeing on the edges, probably the top. Well, maybe not the top. Probably this left side is probably the easiest example of what we like to call silvering. So there is some silvering, which is going to take some grade points away from the edge grade. But as we kind of go around, you kind of see these down here as well as on the right side, there is some silvering as well. But really the big thing that I just kind of highlighted is a lot of these dirt spots, like right here on where it says Pokemon. You can clearly see that there's a lot of dirt and grime right there. You can also see some mild staining by the self-destruct text, as well as some of the lightning energies in your Thunder Wave. So in this case, I believe that you could possibly get this cleaned off with, again, just a Q-tip and some distilled water. So if you do, you will improve your surface grade pretty substantially, to be honest, because that's really noticeable. But aside from that, the hollow scratching is present. I would say it's probably in like the moderate scratching. It's not severe by any means, but it's definitely moderate, almost going into the severe category. So if we flip it over, the back is actually looking pretty nice. We do see some whitening, that what Chris confirmed when we were kind of going over it. So we have some whitening on that corner, on that top right, as well as the top left, as well as the bottom left and the bottom right. But aside from that, on the back, there's really not much. The centering is actually pretty good. So I would say, so here's my take on it. If you can get rid of all of this dirt on near the Pokemon, the self-destruct, pretty much everywhere in this text box of this Magneton, if you can get rid of those stains and dirt marks with a Q-tip and some distilled water, I would bet that you could probably get this into a 6. However, if you can't get rid of this stuff, you're probably looking at like a 4 or even a 5 would be my guess. Probably more a 4, because that's really bad. But I bet you can get that clean. So I would say if you can get that clean, so that's kind of your homework, Chris, that I'm kind of assigning you. If you can get this cleaned in the text box area, you're probably looking at a 6, just based off of the scratching and the silvering on those edges, as well as the whitening on the back. If you can get that cleaned, would be my guess. But if you can't, then you're kind of looking at a 4 or a 5. But yes. But yeah, thank you so much, Chris, for letting us look. That was a nice little range too. So definitely appreciate you submitting those. And let me catch up with chat. I see you guys kind of asking some questions here. Is there a way to fix hollow scratches? Unfortunately, no. The only thing that I personally advocate for, if you're trying to fix scratches with the intention of either reselling it raw or submitting it to get graded, is just using a Q-tip and some distilled water. Anything else, you're kind of going into the range of what's considered alterations. So that's kind of how I approach it. Yeah, I haven't, I'm kind of at the tail end, hopefully finishing up some different tests. So hopefully accept you guys to be able to submit through me as kind of a middleman to clean your cards before I submit them on your behalf. I'm trying to still work out the logistics, but definitely join the Discord if you haven't already. Most of my updates and my feedback are going to be from there. In fact, I actually have in the Discord, I actually have a survey currently active that if you participate, you can get entered in to win a free t-shirt made by me. To give me some feedback on some upcoming projects to see if it's worth pursuing or not. And one of them is a cleaning service. So definitely check that out. All the giveaways that are active and more are going to be in that giveaways channel in the Discord. So definitely check that out. Casey, thanks so much for the follow. Appreciate that. I hear you, Casey. You should have seen the unknowns I got back yesterday from yesterday's PSA submission. They came back as 4s and 3s, and they almost looked like immaculate. Hey, Pool, how's it going? How much does it cost to send your cards graded? So I'm assuming you're talking about like submitting to PSA. They all have different tiers, so it really just depends on what tier you're trying to submit. So it's a little bit hard for me to answer that question. So like for example, this Magneton is really not that expensive in the condition that it's in. So the declared value would probably allow it to be submitted in the TCG bulk for PSA, which roughly is around $15 if you have a Collectors Club membership. Alexander, how much do the white specks on corners matter? It really depends on severity. It's just based off of just experience. Like how often do you see them and whatever. So it's kind of hard to tell, but I love a cleaning service. My Celebi Gold Star needs some love. Awesome. Well, like I said, if you want to weigh in on that survey, it really helps me gauge what people are really interested in. So that survey should be in the Survey Galaxia Gaming giveaways channel. So Liam, Breezy, Pat, and Withered Parrot. Thanks so much for the follows. I appreciate it. It's a very interesting name. All right, so that is the rest of the sub grade review. So now we're going into the non-subs. So next up we have Chris, one of the mods of the channel. So let me get to Chris. I think this one that we're about to look at, I think he found in a closet or something. From what he said, I can't remember. Found this in my room in a drawer. There we go. Let's take a look at this beat to death Kangaskong. I do grade cards, Liam. Yeah, we actually just got, I was just reviewing a PSA submission that I just got back yesterday, actually. Came back with some really nice cards. Super happy with the grades. But yeah, any of that information, probably the best way, again, is probably through my Discord. The easiest way to find my Discord is if you go to my website, galaxiagamingtcg.com, and in my social section, there is a Discord icon that you can click and join the Discord. The Rattata comment in the Discord took me out, right? That's so funny. Amrit, thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate that. So yeah, our Discord's hopping for sure. Got a lot of really cool. One of my personal favorite channels has been the collections channel. Seeing like what you guys like to collect is really cool. Oh, for sure. Yeah, this card definitely got Fury swiped for sure. This Kangaskong had a fight with Scyther in the Safari Zone and definitely lost. That's for sure. Alright, so what are we going to grade this beat to death Kangaskong? Let's see. That lost the battle to Scyther. Centering is actually good. You got that going for you. Other than that, we do have some like debris that can probably get cleaned off, but that's the least of your worries for sure. You got scratches literally all over this card. I mean, you have dirt and grime on the left. You have whatever that is. I don't know what the hell that is. You have possibly an eyelash there. You got a lot of scratches all over this Kangaskong. But like you said, for finding it in a room in your drawer, just for the memes, I personally appreciate it. We have, looks like the Rattata took a bite out of the back of this card. A little midnight Super Fang snack. Taking a little nibble out of there. All the edges are obviously beyond whitened. I mean, you literally have... Let me just kind of zoom out so you guys see what I'm zooming in on. Have some whitening all on that right side. And yeah, it's crazy. All along the edges is just strictly white. And I will have to update this because this is definitely not a 6. That's for sure. Or even a 7. That's for sure. So really, this kind of boils down to whether or not we think... I think this is what's going to be a fun meme vote. So I'm going to do a quick... there should be a poll. So I'm going to do a quick poll. So we're going to see whether or not you guys think this will get the 1 or not. So I'm going to start it. So the smiley emoji is going to be yes, it will get the PSA 1. And the crying emoji will be that no, it will not get the PSA 1. So that vote should be active now. So vote now. Again, the smiles is as yes, it will get the PSA 1. The no or the crying is that it will not get the PSA 1. So let's see. Does the Kangaskong survive the Scyther battle to get the PSA 1? So again, smiles is that yes, it would get the PSA 1. Cries is no, it will not get the PSA 1. How many more reviews are left? We got a pretty good chunk. We got 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 more cards that are at least in the queue for tonight. And then I think, let's see. Meta, thanks so much for the follow. And Rudy, thanks so much for sharing the live. I appreciate it. Pool Hall Junkie, how long does it take to grade 1 card? So if you're just trying to submit a card for PSA, it really just, the crying emoji wins. So it will not get the PSA 1, unfortunately. I have no idea what this would get. Am I honest? I have no idea. But it all depends on what service you submit, because you can submit a card for like $200 for 1 card and have it come back in like 5 days. So it really just depends on what service you pick. Rogan, thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate that. I know, right, Untone? You gotta have faith at the PSA 1. I have no idea what this card would get. Probably a 2. If it's not a 1, it's a 2. Because we've saw 3s and it did not look like that. Yeah, Skillix. So what I normally do, so anytime someone submits a card into the grade review, I'll always let you know ahead of time. So in that way you can kind of, I'll give you the option to whether or not you want to attend it live or not. So if you didn't get one of those notifications today, unfortunately it won't be today. However, and this goes for anyone, if you guys want your cards expedited and you don't want to go kind of like in the queue, because it is free, but it is a first come, first serve basis. If you really want your cards reviewed faster, the Discord does have subscriptions. The cheapest one is $4.99 a month. That gives you priority grade review per every Wednesday. So if that interests you, definitely check it out. But again, it's always going to be free no matter what. It is just a first come, first serve basis. When do I start my streams on Wednesdays? Typically, I start right around 7 o'clock Eastern. That's normally when I start. And this is the 21st episode. So we've done this. I don't think, knock on wood, we haven't missed a grade review. So we've done this for 21 episodes straight. So once every Wednesday. So we haven't missed one yet. No, Skillix. That was just me. Since you submitted into the channel, you hit the requirement to be entered into the giveaway. So So that's why you got the code. It'll tell you like, hey, I'm about to review your cards at this time. If you want to join, great. If not, no worries. But yeah, the code is just, I acknowledge that you submitted a card during the grade review window, the grade review giveaway window. So I just gave you the code to enter. And if you guys are wondering, if you do submit your cards in the grade review, there is 6 days left for the giveaway. One lucky winner in the United States will win a PSA 8 OC. You don't see OCs very often, so I thought that was pretty cool for grade review. I thought it was pretty fitting to win this PSA 8 Jigglypuff with the OC subgrade or grading qualifier. So that's pretty cool. All right. So, Chris, thank you for that. Next up, we have Tired. We have Tired with 3 with some pretty cool cards. So let's get these queued up. We got some Break. And this one that you're about to see on screen here, honestly, I've never seen this card up until today. So that's pretty cool. And then we got the Politoed. And if Pokin Pink or anyone else, any other swirl lovers, this Politoed definitely has a pretty nice swirl location. Looks like right on the knee there. That's pretty cool. But let's see. Yeah, OC stands for off center. So it's so off center that it actually is a grading qualifier that isn't given out a lot, but when it is, that's what it looks like. So it's an 8 OC or off center. Okay. Let us look. All right, so break cards. I don't know if you guys were ever a fan of break cards, but I thought it was a cool. It almost looked like they almost looked fake to me because it almost looks like a sticker. So that's why I always find them to be really, really interesting. And I appreciate. I'm so sorry. I just saw the. I don't know if it was just my interface or what, but Trev and Vintage, thanks so much for the gifts. I appreciate that very much. Yeah, break cards are cool. Break cards are cool looking. But yeah, I definitely appreciate the gifts, guys. Thank you so much. Do we have to join a giveaway channel or just submit for review? So if you just submit for review, I'll personally send you a code and I'll send you a link to the giveaway. But all active giveaways are in the giveaways channel. And let's guess how many times I say giveaway in one sentence. Okay, so the centering of this card is actually looking pretty good. I don't see any major scratches or anything like that on this card. And even on the back, to be honest, looks pretty good. So if I kind of look on here, whoa, hold on. Reset my magnifier. There we go. So honestly, I think this might be, just based off of what I'm seeing from this card, I'm not seeing any major scratches. The centering looks pretty good because really the only centering you can really measure is like right here on the top to the bottom, because this top part there's no border, right? So so from that angle it looks pretty good, and I don't see any scratches. Maybe actually, hold on, there might be some scratches there, but I'm not too sure. Emily, thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate it. And there might be one right there now that I look at this angle. So that might hold you back from the 10 if those are scratches. So I'd probably say like a 9 or an 8. Probably a 9 if you're lucky, if they're not that bad. But if they are, it'd probably be an 8. Because the back looks really good. I don't see any like whitening of the corners. The centering looks good. So that'd probably... But I don't think this would get the 10, unfortunately, if that's what you're looking for. So next up, again, this... so Tired was saying that this is from an old Sun and Moon Ash versus Team Rocket deck. That is super cool, but nobody talks about. So this sat in their garage for about 2 years. So that's always interesting. A garage card. James getting poisoned there. But let's take a look. But yeah, really cool. I've never personally have seen this card. So that's what these grade reviews are always so cool, because I have a chance to see cards I have never seen before. So it's always a treat. Centering of this front is really good. Not a lot of major issues from what I can tell. On the front, at least. So let's flip it over on the back. The back is looking pretty solid. I'm not gonna lie. The only thing that I don't think, if you're here tired, is that there might be some whitening on this top part. But I don't know if that's either the flash or the lighting that you took this in, or if it's like part of, because you have like, now I'm doing a grade review of the table that you submitted on. But it almost looks like the grain of the wood might be kind of giving a little bit of an illusion. But that looks to me, if I were to guess, that's more of like a light illusion, or like a camera issue, like not like issue, but like film grain almost. But if that is not whitening, this would probably be your first potential PSA 10 contender, would be my guess, which would be really cool. Because the centering on this on the front and the back looks really good. So hoping for your sake that when you submit this, you don't get a 9 and look like James here. Okay, so next up we have the Politoed. Let me just zoom out here a little bit. So let me get some of these in a better order here. Just give me 1 second. So there's that one. Got that angle. And I think the rest should be the back. Yes, okay. So the Politoed. It's a really nice looking Politoed. I always like this art. What camera do I use? So these, if you're asking about the pictures that were taken, these are actually community members' cards. So I don't know. I'm assuming they probably took it with their phone. But I'm doing a free grade review of cards that community members have submitted for a free review. So it looks like we do have some dirt that we can probably get cleaned off here. With a Q-tip and some distilled water. So I'm not too worried about that. But the centering of this looks really good, which is always a plus. We do, however, it looks like we do have a little bit of silvering on that top edge. But again, it might be the table. I'm really not too sure. It's kind of hard to tell. But let's see. Skillick, sorry, I just saw your message. Only 2 of the 4 cards I submitted got the gray check. Will the other 2s not be reviewed? They probably will. To be honest, I probably just missed them. So pretty much every day I kind of go through the channel and just check off what I've seen. So basically, if it doesn't have that gray check mark, it just means that I probably just didn't see it. But it does not mean it's not like excluded. Anytime a card would ever be excluded is if you see the little like investigator, which just means that like there's something wrong with the submission, or I need some more clarity on the card. Or one that I had to do the other day, or not the other day, probably like a month ago, was verify that someone actually owned the card that they were submitting, and they didn't. So, Zach, thanks so much for sharing the live. I appreciate it. And if I missed anyone that has followed and shared and liked the live, I really do appreciate it. Again, this is a completely free service that I like to offer, among other things that I like to show off on my streams. I think there's enough people that try to sell you stuff on here, so I like to try to change it up a little bit. So I appreciate all the love and support. It really does mean a lot. All right, going back to the Politoed. So this card definitely has some scratches to it for sure. So right where that sun is, you got a lot of scratches here. You do have a little bit of a swirl on the knee here, which is always cool. If you've been here long enough, I am a sucker for swirls. So another nice, and this is a really good example too, if you haven't already, on how to take pictures of certain cards. So the more angles we can view, the better of an assessment we can do. So we see this side angle, which is really nice. Kind of see more of those scratches that I was kind of talking about in the original picture. There's that other swirl by the knee, which is always really cool. And another angle, again, really nice. Some dirt marks we can probably get cleaned, again, with a Q-tip and some distilled water. And a little bit more scratches here, but not too bad. But really the back, and I gotta kind of zoom out a little bit. Hopefully you guys can see it without getting too small. Let me try to get another picture here. This one probably is going to be... The bottom right foot, is that hollow damage or effect? Bottom right. That might just be a hollow effect. If you're talking about this one, which again is what's kind of nice about having the multiple pictures here. So you kind of see here by that foot, it's just the mountain that looks in pretty good shape. So I think that was just how the camera was shown. I think that's fine. Okay, so let me show this one's a little bit easier to see on stream, I think. At least these two. So we do have some whitening on the corners and edges and surface. But not too much on the surface. Really the only thing I see is just up here. But it's really just the corners and edges that have the most whitening. And that's just another angle of it as well. Pretty much all the corners and all the edges have some degree of whitening. But yeah, so we haven't done this in a little bit. So let me start a new poll. So again, if you're new here, this is grade review. So right now there should be a little clipboard on the top left-hand corner of your device. Looks blue. So it has a bunch of grades. You can vote in on what you think this card would get as a PSA grade. And so the winning vote will be the chat grade. So this grade review, both myself and chat will kind of give our assessment of what we think this card would get graded as PSA. And so while you guys are voting on that, I'm going to catch up with chat. How to get free grades. So this is just a grade review. But if you're interested in submitting, yes, it is free. Probably the easiest way would be to go to my website, galaxiagamingtcg.com. The link is also in my bio and my TikTok profile. So once you go there, in my socials, there's a Discord icon, which is an invite link. So you click that. Once you verify, you go to the grade review channel and just submit your cards in the grade review channel. Again, it's completely free, but it is first come, first serve. However, if you want your cards expedited, if you can't wait that long, because sometimes it takes a week or two for your cards to get assessed, you can subscribe. There's Discord subscriptions now, in the server subscriptions. The cheapest one is $4.99 a month, but it gives you expedited grading every Wednesday that we do these grade reviews. And they start at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern up until about 9:30, 10 o'clock. You are hearing Robins and Cardinals in the background. They are going crazy, as well as my cat. My cat is going nuts. Of course, Beasting. Alright, so the general consensus. So chat is thinking that this Politoed would get us between a 7 and a 6. Okay, so what do I think this Politoed would get? Now it's my turn. So centering is good. I do think that we can probably get rid of these dirt blemishes, so I'm not going to consider that as the into the surface subgrade. So I think we can get rid of those. There is some degree of scratching on this hollow that is pretty present on this angle. We also see it on this angle as well. Like that white spot outside of the sun. We can kind of see some scratches there. Again, some more dirt that we can probably get cleaned right there where the tip of my mouse is. But as we look at it at the other angle, definitely see some more scratches as well. But on the back is really where most of the damage is going to be. Some mild whitening on the corners and edges, as well as some of this left side too. So on that angle and on the other angle, we see kind of on that right side. But all in all, the whitening definitely could be worse. It's definitely there, but it definitely could be worse. So I think if we could get these cleaned with a Q-tip and some distilled water, which I think, Adriel, that's just what you just asked. That's all you really, that's what I personally use. It's just water and, or distilled water and a Q-tip. I think if you can get rid of some of those dirt blemishes, I would say probably get a 6. However, and this is a big however, if these are more ink and not dirt that you can't remove, I would probably knock it down to a 5 if you cannot get rid of these in that top right. But if you can, I'd probably say a 6. Adriel, moist or barely wet? So I would say the best rule of thumb that I give is if you put the back of your wrist probably about an inch away from your mouth and just breathe like you're kind of breathing to wipe down your glasses, that condensation that is on the back of your wrist should be as wet as the Q-tip. So like if you were to do like percentage wise, it should probably be like 5% humidity on your Q-tip. So that is the best way I can explain, I guess, like a moisture gauge on how wet your Q-tip should be. All right, so thank you, Tired, for that submission. Next up is a comical name. Haha, teehee, haha. With some vintage. Nice. Got some vintage in the mix. Won't be good because I've never cleaned before. Well, I appreciate that, Corey. Thank you so much. Yeah, Adriel, if you haven't, I didn't catch if you were following or not, but we definitely do a lot of streams where we kind of, I kind of go over cleaning techniques. Like I'll normally, I actually got a bunch of cards in on Tuesday, or I looked at a bunch of cards on Tuesday that I've been cleaning and trying to prepare for another PSA submission. We just got a submission back yesterday that we just went through. Got really lucky. Most came back as 10s with a handful of 9s. With some 4s and 3s that were more meme submissions than anything. But Corey and Adriel, thanks so much for the follows. I appreciate that. But yeah, definitely if you stick around long enough, you'll definitely kind of get some insider knowledge on, how I personally handle cards. And again, I offer this stuff as a completely free service. There's enough people charging you stuff on this platform as it is. And that's just one thing I just like to offer to the community. Just free advice. As much as I can offer. Again, I've been doing this as a side business for quite some time now. So I figured, might as well just kind of showcase what I do. So, but I definitely appreciate all the love. So anyone that's followed and shared and it really does mean a lot, for sure. Cemetery Hunter, thanks so much for following the live. I appreciate that. Oh, nice, Adriel. And that's what's nice about it, too. If you're just doing it for personal collection, at the very least, if you can just kind of get rid of some of that dirt before you submit is always good, too. And it's really not that difficult, like I said. I definitely showcase it enough on, how I personally clean cards. So definitely, if you're following. In future live streams, I'm sure you'll see one. And I talk about it pretty extensively. Okay, let's see. The Kabutops from Fossil, another first edition. So that's always cool. Centering is good. We are seeing what I've kind of highlighted on a few cards already, but we are seeing what's called silvering. So that kind of silver edge kind of bleeding through. Because again, when this card was chopped off the big old card sheet, those blades were starting to get really, really dull, which results in that top yellow layer kind of getting shaved off a little bit, which reveals that silver underneath. So we call that silvering in the biz. Aside from that, though, I don't see any scratches in the text box field, which is really good. And I'm really not seeing a lot of scratches in the hollow either. So really good on you for that. And the back is actually looking really, really nice. Let me move this. I'm not getting too close to my mic here. A little bit of whitening on that top right. It's probably really hard to see on stream, but you'll have to kind of trust me on it. It's a little bit of whitening on that top right corner. Milk Bean and Cop, thanks so much for following, and Milk, thanks so much for sharing the live. I appreciate it. But the back is in really good shape, and the centering is in really good shape too. That looks like just like a piece of dust. Papa Moon, Bramble, David, and BA Psycho. Thanks so much for the follows, guys. I really appreciate it. So yeah, this Kabutops is actually really clean. This one's gonna be tough, chat. This one's gonna be tough. So let me end the poll that I should have ended a while ago. So I'm going to start a new poll. So, for those of you who are coming in, first, welcome. This is what we call grade review, where we assess community members' cards for free that have submitted their pictures in Discord. So, right now, you should have a little blue clipboard on the top left-hand corner of your device that you can vote and weigh in on what you think this Kabutops would get if submitted through PSA. So, this is the front of the Kabutops, and this is the back. Actually, a really clean card. Super clean, for sure. And literally comical name in Discord when they submitted this just says, just looking for an opinion. Love this card. And man, my opinion is that this card is in really good condition. So kudos to you. I have a card I want to submit, but I can't sub on Discord. So yeah, Alex. So I want to preface. Hopefully I didn't confuse anyone. So you don't have to subscribe on the Discord in order to submit for grade review. It is a free service once you join. However, it is first come, first serve. So for example, if you have a submission you want to send out by next week, but you don't want to wait for like a month, like this is an exaggeration, you can subscribe through the Discord for $4.99 a month, and you'll get expedited grade review. So you would be next week versus like at the bottom of the queue. That's all that means. So hopefully I didn't confuse anyone by saying that. That's all the subscriptions are on the Discord. There's some other perks too that I'm trying to offer, but that's what I'm thinking. Comical too, the silvering on that left edge. Fresh Prince, thanks so much for following the live. I appreciate that. Yeah, hopefully that cleared that up for you, Alexander. All right, so let us see. So by a very thin vote, because it was 6 votes for PSA 8 and 7 votes for PSA 9. So chat, on average here, the winning vote is a 9. So with that being said, now it's my turn. Put the spotlight on me. So the centering is good on the front. Really the major thing that I can see is the silvering on this left edge. But that's about it. This right edge looks super clean, as well as the bottom and the top. As we flip it over, really the only thing that I think I pointed out that is really, really difficult to, I don't even know if you can see it on stream, is that there's a little bit of whitening right there on that top right-hand side. But aside from that, the card is in excellent shape. This card is in really, really good shape. The only thing maybe that might be some whitening there on the bottom right. But I don't know. Again, it gets kind of I don't know if this is like a paper towel or what, but it's a little bit tougher to see. I'm gonna say just to kind of keep things moving along, I'm gonna say that's not anything. If it is, then obviously it'd be changed. But and I just see no scratches on this thing. Let me really look. I'm really not seeing any major issues with this card. And I don't know. I think this might. I would say this would probably. Like, I'd say if I had to be conservative, I'd probably say 8, but I really hope that you'd get a 9 on this one. So I'm going to put the good vibes out there, and I'm thinking 9 as well. So good job, chat. So let me, before I move on to the next submission by Deadline, which this one's going to be really nice. This is going to be really, really nice. Let me catch up with chat real quick. Can you add the Discord link? Yeah, so the Discord link, probably the easiest way is to go to my website, galaxiagamingtcg.com. The website's also pinned in my bio. And once you're there, once you're on my website, if you go to my socials section, you should see a Discord icon. If you click the Discord icon, it should give you an invite link to the server. Once you've accepted and verified and read the rules, there is a channel called Grade Review, in which you can submit your cards. Again, it's completely free. Unless you want your cards expedited, because it is a first come first serve basis, in which case there is a Discord subscription tiers that you can subscribe to. The cheapest option still gives you what's called expedited grade review, so you'll always be so I go through the subscribers grade reviews first, and then I go through the non-subscribers second. But everyone's at a max of 5 card submissions, so someone can't dominate an entire stream. That's the only reason why I do that. So yeah, hopefully that answered your question. All right, next up, we got the big Shining Gyarados. This one's super cool. Always a big fan of the Shining cards. I think a lot of people are. So let me, because I don't think that's going to get a 9. But again, I appreciate all the love and support, guys. It really does mean a lot. I appreciate all the follows and shares and likes. Again, I try to do this just for the community. It's really my way of kind of saying thanks to the community and just Pokemon in general for everything that it's given to me. And so I like to kind of give back. So I appreciate it. Okay. So next up, so this is submitted by Deadline. So Deadline is submitting a unlimited Shining Gyarados from Neo Revelation. One of the first debuts of the Shining cards. So always cool to see. And let's get right into it. So centering looks good. First off, when we're kind of looking at the edges, we are seeing, and I probably should zoom out just a little bit so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Go there, perfect. So right here, we do have some dirt and debris that, again, I think you can most likely just get rid of with some, with a Q-tip and some distilled water. Again, for those of you who are wondering how moist you should get a Q-tip with some distilled water, it should roughly be about 5%. The best way to kind of gauge that is if you were to put your back of your wrist about 1 inch away from your mouth and kind of breathe out. The condensation from your breath on the back of your wrist should be as wet as the Q-tip should be. Danny and Greg, thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate that. So that can easily be cleaned. So I'm not too worried about these little dots. So as you can see, there's a little bit more here. So this card would really benefit from a good Q-tip and distilled water cleaning. Like, for example, that like really thick black dot could also be removed, would be my guess. Some dots there on the right side as well. Let's see. But aside from that, I see maybe a little bit of scratching here, because it's kind of tough because the scene is made to look like a storm or like a rain scene. So some of the scratches actually, just from the angle, kind of look like raindrops. But I believe that this is a scratch right here where the tip of my mouse is. But aside from that, even this section looks really good. This right side looks really good. So let's flip it on over. Whew. And yeah, I was not expecting that. I'm not going to lie, chat. This one is pretty rough. This one's rough. Ugh. This is what we call in the business a good binder card, because the back of this card should never see the light of day. Holy. So where do I begin? So the centering is at least good. The top is pretty beat. This left edge is really beat. The corners are beat. So the corners and edges are just destroyed. For the most part, like this fray. But really the big one that I think this is like the first time I've seen this since doing grade review is that this almost looks like some discoloration of the ink itself. Almost like if you poured almost like, not like bleach, but something that would make the card extremely discolored, which is unfortunate. In addition to, I don't know if it's like a cat's hairball or something. I'm not too sure what that is. I don't really want to know what that is, to be honest, but it kind of looks like a hairball. But yeah, like the front of this card looks really good. And then the moment you flip it over, it's like, man, that's rough. but like what Deadline said, it's kind of funny in the Discord. They submitted, I have no idea. I know the back is awful. Well, you're definitely not wrong. Beasting and Alexander, thanks so much for the gifts. I appreciate that. I apologize. I didn't catch it sooner. So yeah, I'm really curious what you guys think this is going to get. So let us start a new poll. So a new poll should be active. The little blue clipboard should be on the top left-hand corner of your device now if you want to weigh in on what you think this binder card Shining Gyarados would get. So the front looks really good, right? But the back is like, ugh. I don't know what substance spilled on this or what cat left this hairball, but man, that is rough. So again, if you want to vote and weigh in on what you think this card would get, the poll should be active now. So just tap that little blue clipboard in the top left and weigh in. I have a Shining Tyranitar I think I can get a 10 on, but need an expert opinion. Wow. Well, first, that's awesome. Congrats. And second, we would love, I mean, I'm not saying I'm an expert by any means, but I would love to try to add it to the grade review for sure to kind of give you a second opinion. Is that Jorge or George or Georgie? Thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate that. That is crazy on tone. That's what I'm saying. The front looks immaculate, and you would think just based off of the severity of this whitening up here that you would think you would see it on the front, but you just don't. This is probably like the textbook example on a binder card. Like the front looks incredible, but it's just the back that's just really taking this back. I'll get some pictures tonight. I'm scared to take it out of the sleeves. Yeah, I mean, I hear you. But I will say, you know, what was I going to say? Depending on how it's stored and if you try to submit it, like, to get graded already, you might have to take it out, depending on, like, what type of sleeve it's in. But I mean, at the end of the day, you don't have to. I'm not, like, forcing you to submit your card or whatever. I definitely get it. Like, you know, especially, excuse me, for, you know, talking about a card that you think potentially has a potential 10 candidate, I would equally be as concerned for sure. John, thanks so much for the follow. And let me just remind me real quick, John. I'll let you know in just a second. I'm just wrapping up this poll here. But I'll get to your question in just a second. Just remind me if you don't mind. Okay. So 5-4. Chat is thinking 5-4. Let's see. Okay. So, the front of the Shining Gyarados. The front is very well centered. Super clean. With the exception, so you can kind of see these little black dots. I don't like ignore them, but I don't really count them towards the surface grade because I think a lot of these can be cleaned with a Q-tip and some distilled water or even a microfiber cloth. But not too bad. This one as well can be kind of cleaned really quickly. And I only see really one little scratch here, but really not that bad. But as we flip it over, this is where majority of the damage is going to be. We got the corners, we got the edges, we got the hairball, we got the stain. We got a bunch of stuff. So I think honestly, with how bad the stain is, in tandem with how good the front is, which is a really weird kind of combination to say, I probably would give this, man, if it was any worse on the front, I'd probably say a 2, but I'm probably going to go with a 3, just because of how bad that stain is, man. It is crazy. I'm so sorry, Tired. I can probably, I think what I said, because again, I always post the VODs of these streams. It's taken me a little bit longer, just because I've had a bunch of collections that I've been processing. But the VOD should be up. But I believe that I thought that the Xerneas, I didn't think was gonna get the 10. I thought I'm probably gonna butcher the name because I don't even remember the name of it. It's like the Marini, from the deck, I thought was probably your closest at a 10. And I think I assessed the Politoed as a 6, unless you can't clean. I think it was the top right, then it would get a 5, if I believe. That's like all based off memory, so I definitely would check the VOD once I upload it, but I think that's what I assessed them at. So yeah, so let me queue up the next one. I do see your questions, guys. Just give me one quick second. Oh, okay, awesome, Beasting. Well, I appreciate you hanging out, and I look forward to seeing the Tyranitar, if you're brave enough. I appreciate it. Yeah, so if you guys want to know how to submit your cards for free for the review, let me pop up the screenshot. So on my TikTok profile, I have a pinned video with the thumbnail that says grade review and how to. Give that a watch. It's about a 45-second video. It'll teach you how to join the Discord, what channel to submit, and most importantly, what the instructions are to submit. Because it is a free service, but it is a first come, first serve. However, if you want your cards assessed faster, the Discord also offers server subscriptions. So the cheapest is $4.99 a month. That will get you what's called expedited grade review, so you can kind of jump ahead in the queue. Think of it like TSA pre-check for grading. But yeah, just give that a watch. It's not that long. Like I said, it's about 45 seconds. Oh, there you go, Tired. Look at that. We're pretty on par. All right, so next up we have Civic, who has definitely submitted a ton of cards in the past. So this is his Galarian Moltres. Yeah, exactly. And I definitely appreciate when you guys submit cards and stuff. I really do appreciate you guys, kind of trusting both myself and the community to kind of look at your cards. It really does mean a lot. It might not sound like it means a lot because, again, I'm kind of offering this as a free service, but the trust that you guys have in the process, I can't thank you guys enough. Awesome, Dream. Well, I appreciate it. You don't even have to sub. You do more than enough to support, and I really do appreciate it. I really do appreciate it. Okay. The Galarian Moltres. Let's take a look. So again, for modern cards specifically, we tend to go a little bit faster because really the big things that we're looking for when we look at modern is whether it's well centered and that there's no whitening. So let's take a look. I know, Dreamside. That's really what I'm most excited for. I feel like I'm really close, to be honest, because I actually canceled. This is a conversation for another time, but I canceled my Card Ladder subscription because I noticed a lot of new reporting errors that I was not a fan of. So I'm going to put that money that I saved into multi-streaming. So getting really close. So let's take a look. So honestly, this card looks very well centered. But just in case, let me take the ruler here. But yeah, I'm super stoked to do multi-streaming for sure. Because I think just streaming like for desktop is gonna allow me to do so much more cooler stuff. In addition to streaming to TikTok still. So on the right side, so again, just for context, you guys actually can't see it on stream, but I'm physically pressing a see-through ruler up against my monitor. So for example, if I put the ruler up on the right side, it's about 1/4 inch on the right, and then about 1/4 inch on the left. So we're in that 50-50, 60-40 range on the left to the right. And on the top, we're just shy of 1/4 inch on the top and just shy of 1/4 inch on the bottom. So I say for you, Civic, that this might be a good PSA 10 contender just by the centering, because I didn't see any whitening on the back, and I didn't see any issues with the centering on the back either. So this one might be a pretty good PSA 10 contender if it were up to me. Okay, J-Bone coming out with the Giratina. All right, so J-Bone is saying, looking for feedback on this Tina. Would you say it constitutes as a miscut or just bad centering? How would PSA grade this? So this is actually a really good kind of like soft segue. So I actually have a technically off-center card to compare to. So if we look at this Giratina, so they're asking if this would be constituted as a miscut or an OC off-center or a miscut. So for miscuts, we typically want to look for if there is another card or anything like that to where it doesn't look like a whole card. So sometimes with this, if they're miscut, you'll see like portions of another card that were on the same sheet appear on this card. So that's the first thing I'm going to look for, is that we don't see any, like, for example, this Mewtwo in the back here. We don't see part of the Mewtwo on this card, right? So the next question is we're going to see, okay, is it off center to warrant what you're seeing on screen here, this 8 this AOC, I keep wanting to say subgrade, grading qualifier, the grading qualifier of OC. So you can see here as this Jigglypuff, right? It's extremely off-centered, right? So you have this side, and then we flip it over. If I can get there, hold on, I gotta do this. There we go. So if I flip it over, you can really see that it's super off-center, to the point where it gets the OC grading qualifier. Now, the big thing that you can't really see here would be what's called centering dots. So the moment you start seeing centering dots, and it's kind of tough to see on here, is that's a really easy way to get the OC grading qualifier. But I think for this one, I just think, unfortunately, that it's just off center, but not as a qualifier. It is extremely close, like what Tired is saying. I think it is extremely close to getting that off center grading qualifier, but I don't think, all jokes aside, I don't think it makes the cut. And if you see what I did there, I appreciate you laughing at my really corny dad joke. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't think it'll get that. It is definitely very off center for sure. All right, so next up is Tony El Tigre. So let's take a look at Tony El Tigres. All right, so will it get the 10? Let's take a look. Austin, thanks so much for following the live. I appreciate that. And if anyone else followed or shared or liked the live that I missed, I definitely appreciate all the love and support. It really does mean the world to me that you guys like this style of content. Again, I think there's enough people that try to sell you stuff like on a daily basis on this platform. And I'm here just to try to, provide my insight on what I like to do for the hobby and kind of give back to the community. So I definitely appreciate all the love and support. It really does mean a lot. So the centering on the front is really, really nice. Austin, just remind me after I review this Giratina, I'll let you know, because I'm sure you're not the only one wondering. So just give me one quick second. You might have to remind me, though. So the front of this card's looking really good. So let's hope that the same is on the back. And the back is looking really good, too. So let's measure the back. So again, you guys can't see it on your end, but on my end, I'm putting a ruler up against my monitor. So on the left side, we got a little bit over a 1/4 inch. On the right side, we also have a little bit over a 1/4 inch. It's actually slightly thicker on that right side than it is on the left, but I think it's within range, so I think we're good. Top is a little over a 1/4 inch, and the bottom is also a little over a 1/4 inch. So I think dimple over the P. Let's take a look, Antone. Let's take a look. No, it's completely free, Ray. It is first come, first serve, though. There is a way that you can pay to have it expedited, that I'll go over here in a second. So I'm thinking this is what you probably see on Toten. This kind of, if this is the dimple, if that is the dimple, like what you're saying, then yeah, that might not get the 10. But if it is, but if it isn't, rather, then I think this is a really good 10 contender, for sure. So really good. Yeah, so going back to Austin. So for those of you who are wondering how to submit your cards for free for the review, I have a video up. It's a pinned video called Grade Review and How To. It's right on my main channel of this TikTok, this video. It's about a 45-second video. It teaches you how to join the Discord, what channel to submit, and the most important, I cannot stress this enough, is the instructions on how to properly submit through the pinned messages. So for example, if this Giratina was in a penny sleeve or in a top loader, I would have asked them to take it out and resend the picture. Again, it is a free service, but it is first come, first serve. So just make sure you submit it right the first time, just so you don't get bumped down the queue. I'm not trying to be mean, but there are a lot of submissions from time to time, and I just want to give everyone as fair a shot as possible. However, if you do want your cards graded faster, because sometimes, I don't get around to these for like a week or two, but you want your card, if you want to actually submit your cards to get graded and you want it done a little bit faster for a second opinion, the Discord server also has now, which is newly introduced, server shop or server subscriptions, depending on if you're on mobile or desktop. That has a server subscription tier. The cheapest is $4.99. Among other perks, it gives you expedited grading service, so you kind of jump ahead in the queue with the other subscribers. So some options, but at the end of the day, it is still free. It's just first come, first serve. So Ray, once you're in the grade review, all of the info can be found in the pinned messages on what the certain symbols mean. So based off of if you have a gray check mark, it means that I've acknowledged that, yes, I see your submission. If it has a green check mark, it means I'm about to review it. If it has a little microphone, it means I reviewed it live on stream already, along with some other stuff. So you kind of just give a visual gauge on how far you would be. And I do only restrict it to 5 submissions per person per week. So, for example, if someone submitted 20 cards, the whole stream isn't just dominated by one person. But definitely check out the pinned messages on what the reactions mean. That's probably the best way to gauge how far you are in the queue, to determine whether or not, if you want it done faster, if a subscription's a little bit better for you. Okay, so next up, we have some really cool submissions from Alakazam 630. Have a really nice Umbreon and a special delivery Pikachu. Always nice. And every time you guys submit, I will say, I haven't really said it much, is that we are doing a grade review giveaway. So for anyone that submits from now until the end of the giveaway, which ends in 6 days, you'll be entered in to win a free, which I was just kind of going over, this free PSA 8 off-center first edition Jigglypuff. We talk about centering a lot during grade review, so I thought it was more than fitting to give a off-center card for free in the giveaway. So once you do, I give you a code and I give you all the information, but all the giveaway information can be found in the giveaway section of the Discord, so definitely check that out. But yeah, when you submit, you'll be entered in for free. Okay, so let's get the Umbreon started. So let's take a look. Centering of this Umbreon is really nice. The only thing that I see, though, is this little, almost looks like a zit on this Umbreon, but I think you can probably just get rid of that with just a microfiber cloth. But aside from that, this is an incredible card. That one probably also, too, you can probably just wipe that off. So the front of that, and all these little hairs, too. The back, so this is one question I kind of get from time to time, so it might be a little bit harder to see on stream specifically, but this card is a little bowed. So the easiest way to fix this is just like if you were a kid and you'd flatten out leaves, if you're in an area that has leaves that fall that you flatten out. If you just put this in a penny sleeve and just put it between some heavy books or something like that, this can get flattened out pretty easily. So I don't really worry about cards if they're bowing. Just put them between something pretty heavy for it to flatten out. So I wouldn't worry about that. Yes, Blaze, I do clean cards. The only thing I don't do when regards to cleaning is I don't use any polish. I don't use any polish or chemicals. The only thing that I use for a solution is just distilled water. That's all I use. But yeah, I do cleaning streams from time to time, normally on Tuesdays. But Wednesdays is strictly dedicated to grade review. Okay, so the back, we do have some whitening here on the top left, as well as we have some scratches here on the bottom left. I don't know if so top left have some whitening on the corner. Bottom left we have some scratches. We do have a little white dots that I think can probably get removed with just a microfiber cloth, especially like these here. I would actually try using a Q-tip and distilled water, which I just mentioned previously, to try to see if that is dirt that you can kind of get rid of. But aside from that, there's just little scratches here and there, but not too bad. But yeah, so now, let me, if this is because I haven't done it in a few cards now, I'm going to start a poll. So a poll should have just popped up in the top left-hand corner of your device. It looks like a little blue clipboard. So this is the part where chat now votes on what you guys think as a community, what this Umbreon would get as a grade. So whatever the winning vote is, that is going to be the chat grade. So definitely check that out if you want to weigh in on what you think this Umbreon would get. So as you guys are voting in the poll, I'm going to catch up with chat real quick because I saw some questions come in. So just give me 1 second. Oh yeah, this Umbreon is super nice on tone. Super nice. Um, I'm not sure science if you're asking that because you're a scientist. But the really short answer is any chemicals like a wax is considered an alteration. And for me personally, I just don't like to run the risk of having my card not get graded and come back as altered. It's just something I just don't personally do. But for those who use solutions like that to improve their personal collection and have no intention of grading it or reselling it, by all means, it's really nice. I've seen some really cool channels that polish cards for their personal collection that make it look absolutely stunning. But besides that, I personally don't. Peyton, thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate that very much. All right, so let's see what you guys are thinking. All right, so chat grade is a PSA 8. All right, so chat's thinking 8. So what am I thinking this Umbreon would get? So the centering of this really good. A lot of what I'm about to say on the front can probably be just wiped off with a microfiber cloth. So like by the ears, by the forehead, by the front chest, as well as some of these little loose dust particles in the text box area. So the front of this card is really good. I really don't even see scratches on the hollow itself. Maybe a little bit there, but not too bad. So as we flip it over, again, if we can flatten this out pretty well, so I'm not too worried about this. So assuming that we can flatten this out, what we do see, however, is we do see some slight whitening on the top left and the bottom left, in addition to seeing some scratches on the back edge as well as the right side. So I would say with the very, very mild scratching on the back, in addition to like a little bit of these that can probably get cleaned, I'm hoping with with either a microfiber cloth, just if it's dust, or if it's not dust, just using some distilled water and a Q-tip. I'm hoping that you could probably sneak out a 7, would be my guess. But if you can't get rid of some of those, then you're probably looking at a 6. But I feel like you can. Oh, I say 6 and I put 6. I'm probably thinking a 7. Unless it's just dust, science guy. But if it's like printed on there, you can't really do much to it, unfortunately. Curtis, thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate that very much. All right, next up we have the Special Delivery Pikachu. So again, this is pretty modern, obviously, with being 2020. So let's take a look at the centering. So the centering on the front looks really clean. On the hollow, I'm seeing no scratches. So really nice. Brian, thanks so much for following the live. I appreciate that. So on the back, I also think that we have the same kind of thing where that little white spot can probably just get wiped away. But as I'm measuring, and there's that one too, this probably out of the two, this one's probably your closest to being a PSA 10 contender, because the centering is really good. I don't see any scratches on the hollow, and the little white dots that I saw, I'm assuming can just be wiped away. Obviously, it goes without saying, if it can't, then it wouldn't get the 10. But if it can, we got 1, 2 on the bottom and 3 on the top right, then you're looking at a PSA 10 contender for sure. I'm glad Blaze and Science guys are bonding over the brain rot. Look at that. Community is coming together. So yeah, thank you, Alakazam, for that submission. Next up, which is probably one of the funniest names I think I've ever read, is God of Milk. Very interesting. So let's take a look at God of Milk submission with the Cynthia's Ambition Rainbow Rare. I think from Brilliant Stars. After cleaning, do you usually go with BGS or PSA? I tend to stick with PSA because one of the big things that I like to do, Science Guy, is, I guess for science, which is kind of funny, you're the one asking. I tend to keep track of what I think a card would get before I submit and then what it actually gets. So basically give myself a batting average is the best way to explain it for PSA. So if I think, if I submit 10 cards that I think are all going to be PSA 10s, but they all come back as like 8s or 7s, my accuracy for predicting 10s is obviously going to go down. So I just been doing that with PSA for so long that I've tried to like consistently have that data be as accurate as possible. So the moment I shift over to BGS or CGC, that data kind of comes null and void. So that's the main reason why I stick with PSA, to be honest. How many in queue? So if you look at the grade review channel, and I think Science Guy just asked. So a quick way to get there is if you go to my website, galaxiagamingtcg.com. It's also pinned in my channel. You just go to my socials section and then click the Discord icon. It'll give you an invite link to the Discord. And then you just submit your cards into, once you go through the verification process, you just submit your cards through the grade review channel. And then you just submit the pictures. As long as they're not in a sleeve or a top loader, you should be fine. Again, it's completely free, but it is first come, first serve. But if you want it expedited, the server does have a server shop or a server subscription, depending on if you're mobile or on desktop. The cheapest option is $4.99 a month. It'll fund like future projects. It all goes back into the stream, and it gives you expedited grade review. So if you want your grades done a little bit faster, you can sub. But if you don't, if you just kind of just like it for fun, you can just submit for free. It's totally up to you. Exactly, Science Guy, right? I gotta have the data to back up my answer. All right, Cynthia's Ambition. So pretty much we're just seeing if this is going to get the PSA 10 or not. And right off the bat, it's going to be probably a pretty quick one. This right side, so just for context, so I've seen some people say, PSA or grading companies don't look at the back. They definitely do. So it's always good to look at both the front of a card and the back. So on this right side, you can see that this right is a bit thicker than the left. So that would reduce the subgrade of the centering, which would probably, in my opinion, bring this to not be a PSA 10, would be my opinion. But still a really nice card, the Cynthia's Ambition. So unfortunately, I don't think it'd get the 10, but at least you tried. Okay, so next up has been very, very patient, Untoten. You've been in here for the entire time, and we're finally... yes, Blaze. I think the back is either 60-40 or 70-30. I know the front is 50-50, 60-40, but I don't know. I can't remember if it translates the same ratios to the back as it does in the front. But Untoten, we are finally up to you. About dang time. Dang it, Bobby. Why are you painting clouds in your room? Here we go. Untoten submission. Okay, so let's take a look. Well, I appreciate that, Alexander. Thanks so much. And I appreciate the lightning bolts. I apologize. How my interface looks, like I don't really see the GIFs like pop up as noticeable because I do this on TikTok Studio. But I definitely appreciate it. Thank you so much. Okay, Dark Golbat. Let's take a look. This is a second Dark Golbat. This one's unlimited. Centering is really good. Corners are really good. The text box is really good. And the holo is in extremely good condition. So kudos to you. That's awesome. Man, I'm telling you, you guys have some of the best, like some of you have some of the best condition cards I've ever seen for like vintage stuff. Bottom heavy. Let's actually measure it. Well, I mean, again, if I ever measure a card on stream, I always recommend people to measure in person because based off of the angle, it's going to be a little bit different, but let me measure. Yeah, so we're almost like between 1/4 and 1/2 inch on the bottom. And we're right at 1/4 inch on the top. So it might be a little thicker, like what you're saying, Blaze. It might be thicker from the bottom to the top, but it might be the angle. So definitely double check that, but that might be true. Sylvia, thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate that very much. So yeah, definitely check out to see if the bottom is thicker than the top. But again, on paper, the ratio, the threshold is between 50-50 to 60-40 on the front. So if we flip it over, let's see. We do have some centering issues on the back for sure. So like this left side is a bit thicker than the right. In addition, I see some whitening on the top left, that side left edge, and bottom left, as well as the bottom right. It's not like I'm saying it as though it's like all over the card, but it's really not that bad. but it is there nonetheless. And I'm assuming that this is probably just a fuzzy or something you can just wipe off, so I'm not too worried about that. So since you've been waiting, we're obviously going to do a poll. So a new poll should be active on your device, the little blue clipboard, to weigh in on what you think this Dark Golbat would get as a PSA grade. So there is the front of the Dark Golbat, which is, again, in really good shape. We really don't see anything hollow issued or anything like that. And it's really just the back that we just have some very, very slight, mild whitening on the edges and corners and stuff like that. So not too bad. So I'll leave it on the back for now, while I catch up with chat, so you guys kind of the best educated. Like if you were to pick one side or the other to grade, that's probably going to be the most accurate one for sure. Let me just zoom in a little bit so you guys can see it a little bit better. And there we go. Okay. Next card, mostly concerned with centering. Gotcha. That'd be nice, Alexander, right? Like I always try to hope for the best for people, for sure. Always try to hope for the best. One of my moderators, I don't think she's in here tonight. She's actually been helping me test run a cleaning service, cleaning grading service, to where you guys submit your cards to me. I clean them and try my best to obviously improve as much as I can, and then submit them on your behalf. So I'm trying to work out the logistics of that, because I know a few people have mentioned that it would be of interest to them. So trying to get there. So that'd be kind of cool to offer. You did miss your Giratina, Tony. So I think we said, I mean, obviously I'll post the VOD so you can kind of see a little bit more in detail on what the breakdown was. But I think if memory serves, we said that I think you were just shy, because I didn't think it would give you a miscut grading qualifier, and I think you were just shy of getting the OC qualifier. How often do I go live? So I try to go live every Tuesday and Wednesday. I always announce my streaming schedules on TikTok, Instagram, and the Discord. So I tend on Wednesdays. I'm trying to be as consistent as I possibly can. On Wednesdays for grade review, I stream from 7 to 10, roughly, Eastern. And then sometimes I'll just have one sporadically, but it just depends on when I have free time. Because I do have a full-time job. I have this as my side business, but I do have a full-time job on top of this. All right. So we are thinking, what are we thinking, chat? We're tied. Let's see. The last minute. So we have so chat grade would be 7 to 6. Let's see. Just give me 1 second, Loki. If you want to just remind me at the next card, because I'm sure you're not the only one wondering how to submit cards. Just give me 1 second. Okay. So the front of this card is actually looking really nice. The only thing that I saw, I'd probably say, but it might just be the angle, is that it's a little bit thicker on the bottom than it is on the top. But again, I would definitely double check. But aside from that, there's no scratches from what I can tell. There's nothing on the text box area, so far so good. Really the only thing that I see on the back is just a lot of the little spots. So first off, this left side is thicker than the right by a little bit. That I think you can probably just wipe off. But there's a little bit of whitening pretty much all on the left side. So on the top left-hand corner, the left side, but not bad, but it is there, as well as on the bottom left and the bottom. So I would say for how scattered these little white spots are, in addition to the off centering, I probably would say that this would be a solid 7 in my opinion. But still nice though. And Loki, if you're still here, for those of you who are wondering how to submit your cards in the grade review, it's a completely free service. I have a picture on screen now. It's a pinned video on my TikTok channel. The thumbnail reads grade review and how to. It's about a 45-second video. If you give that a watch, it teaches you everything you need to know about how to join the Discord, what channel to submit your cards into, and most importantly, the instructions, because it is free, but it is first come, first serve. So as long as you follow the instructions. It should be fine. However, if you want your cards to be done faster, because you can tell where we are in the queue by the reactions that I leave on all the pictures. If you want your cards reviewed a little bit faster, the server does offer server subscriptions. Can be found either in the server shop on desktop or the server subscriptions on mobile. The cheapest one is $4.99 a month. It gives a bunch of other perks, but the biggest one for grade review specifically is expedited grade review, meaning that it basically gives you like the TSA pre-check of grade review where you kind of jump the queue. So it all depends. Again, it's completely free at the end of the day, but if you want it done a little bit faster and you can't wait, there is that subscription option. So yeah, that's how you do it. Carton, thanks so much for following the live. I appreciate that very much. Yeah, of course, Loki. I think at the end of the day, I think there's enough people that try to sell you stuff on this platform. And the Pokemon community has done so much for me, through my childhood and just like as a professional hobby. I just find it very satisfying to just offer something for free to the community and just get a really nice, I prioritize the community engagement over anything, to be honest. Yes, I do this as a small business and I obviously sell some of the cards that I get back for grading and raw and whatever. But at the end of the day, I just like to do it for the community. There's really no other rhyme or reason or explanation other than I just like to do it for you guys. So when I see follows and likes and shares, it really does mean a lot to get that feedback. Okay, so Galarian Articuno. He Who, thanks so much for the follow. That was fun to say. And Loki, thanks so much for sharing the live. I appreciate that. So the big thing that I'm noticing right off the rip. So again, I'm pressing the ruler up against the monitor. The left side is about 1/4 inch on the left and just shy of 1/4 inch on the right. So from my perspective, it's a little off center from the left to the right. And on the bottom to the top, it's about just shy of 1/4 inch on the bottom and a little bit more shy of an inch, or shy away from 1/4 inch. So I'd say from the front, so from the left to right and then bottom to top, it's a bit off center. Not by a lot, but it is a little bit. And on the back as well. So you can kind of see this a little bit easier than what it was in the front, that this right side is a little bit thicker than the left. So for me personally, I don't think this would get the 10, only because it's a little bit off center on both the front and the back. But that would be my guess. Yeah, I hear you, Loke. I know there's the range between 50-50 to 60-40 on the front, but sometimes that tends to be true. Sometimes it tends to not be. But I think for modern, for me, a good rule of thumb is if there is any doubt or anything like that you don't think it'd come back as a 10 for a modern card, in my professional opinion, I just don't see it as being worth submitting. Because with modern, the print quality is so much better than what it used to be, obviously. So you're pretty much going 10 or bust. It's super close, like what you're saying, Antone. But I would kind of say I'd rather just sell it kind of in the raw condition. It's that obviously definitely near mid plus for sure. But I don't think it would get the 10, in my opinion. But so yeah, so that is the end of grade review for the night. Episode 21 wrapped up to a close. So again, as a last kind of conversation, if you are here and wanting to know how to submit your cards for a review, pinned video is up now. The screenshot of the pinned video called Grade Review and How To. So it's a pinned video on my TikTok channel. You can watch. It's about a 45-second video. It teaches you how to join the Discord, what channel to submit in, and what the instructions are. It's completely free service. You don't have to pay a penny. It is first come, first serve. However, if you want it a little bit done faster, the server now does offer server subscriptions, either through the server shop on desktop or server subscription on mobile. The cheapest package is $4.99 a month, but it does give you expedited grading service, so you kind of get ahead of the queue. In addition, we also are doing a grade review giveaway. So for anyone that has submitted cards into the grade review, you'll be entered in to win a free PSA 8 off-center Jigglypuff from Jungle. So we talk about centering a lot during grade review, so I thought it was more than fitting to give away a off-center card. You don't really see these often. So I think this is a really cool little giveaway prize to win just by simply joining the Discord and submitting cards to Grade Review for these streams. So Grade Review is always on every Wednesday starting at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern until about 9 or 10, depending on how large the queue is. So definitely give that a shout. And there's a lot more on the Discord as well. We have giveaways. We get to show off collections. There's a ton of stuff in there. So definitely check it out. So again, I appreciate you guys more than you know, all the love and support and gifts. It really does mean the world to me. I definitely appreciate all the love and support. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.